Hello and welcome back to my channel What If Deku 2.0. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off part 2 of our series, What If Quirkless Deku Had Omnitrix? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is Guardian-Sigil from fanfiction.net. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. A week has passed since the robot attack, but no mention of the robots ever made it onto the news. As it turns out, 13 wasn't lying about the giant hologram around the warehouse. Nobody noticed a thing. Plus, as a bonus, the robot actually turned invisible to escape 13 before using its legs as helicopter blades to go after Izuku. So, no one witnessed it flying over the buildings. Training picked right back up with Izuku's strength training combined with some practice as Ditto. According to 13, his physical capabilities should transfer over to his alien forms and vice versa. So, with an army of Dittos, Izuku took to clearing the trashed beach. Unfortunately, he was 10 times more exhausted by the end of each workout when compared to before. It also doesn't help that Ditto is half his own size. Saturday eventually rolled around. Early that morning, Izuku set off for Mr. Bauman's store only for the old man to kick him out. According to Mr. Bauman, he literally can't afford to have Izuku anywhere near his store, claiming that he's the reason for ruining his store and scaring his customers. Of course, that isn't completely true, but in Mr. Bauman's eyes it might as well be. So, with nothing else to do, Izuku decides to text Henzu Uichi, figuring it's been a while since they've hung out, while treading off away from the warehouse district. Henzu gets back to him rather quickly, complaining about how early it is, but suggests that they should head over to the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall. There's a new arcade there that he's been wanting to scout out. Smiling happily, Izuku heads for the train station. Somewhere in Kiyoshi Ward, a man dressed in a brown business suit slams his fist onto the door of a rundown and shabby apartment building. The windows are cracked and boarded up, the sides of the outer wall are falling apart, and the cement walkway is cracked. "Yo, Animo, I know you're in there. Open up." Getting no reply, the man pulls out a key, unlocks the door, and steps inside. The apartment is cluttered with filthy tanks and cages strewn about with various animals from fish, lizards, birds, and rodents. The TV appears to be left on in the corner of the large room. The man holds his nose. "Smells like a zoo in here." He walks through the apartment, stepping over the smaller cages, looking for the only human resident. Entering the farthest end of the living room, the man curiously watches a large frog hop about its terrarium, oblivious to the figure approaching him from behind. The man turns around and yelps in surprise. "How did you get in?" demands a scratchy-voiced old man. The withered old man has greenish skin, long white hair that clearly hasn't been washed in weeks, and crooked teeth. The man's clothes are dark and ragged. They too have not been washed or mended to seen, as his shirt is torn up in places. The man composes himself, fixing his tie. "The key, I am still your landlord, remember. Maybe not, because your rent is 6 months past due." Animo stares at the man as if he's crazy before shrugging him off. "All my funds go into my research." He says it in a way that sounds like that should have been obvious. "Now get out. You're disturbing me." Animo turns away and fiddles with something on his desk. The landlord gazes at the state of the apartment, noting the smells, grime, and animals. "Looks like you were disturbed long before I got here, pal. Listen, Doc. You and your furry friends are out on the street unless you pony up the green." Animo smirks. "Pony up?" He turns, opening the terrarium, and reaches in for the large frog. Interesting choice of phrases. He places the frog on the floor before reaching for something from his desk. "You must be an animal lover. Then you're gonna love this." Animo equips himself with a very strange device that looks like it was put together with various pieces of kitchen utensils, pieces of household appliances, and other small electronic devices. The helmet part of the device is literally a bowl strainer with two long antennas attached to it. Strapped to his chest is a circular disc with red lights and various dials. Staring at the device, the landlord bends over holding his gut in a fit of laughing. Ignoring the laughter, Anemo continues. This is my transmodulator. Tell me, do you know what my quirk does? The landlord wipes away his tears, standing back up. Why would I care? You should. My quirk allows me to alter the DNA of animals as long as I understand the physiology of the species. Admittedly, my quirk is not all that powerful. The most I can do is give these creatures longer lifespans and make them a bit bigger, maybe even change their pigmentations. However, this device will change all that. It will accelerate the mutation process at a genetic level. Observe. Pressing a few buttons and rotating a dial, the circular chest piece and the ends of the antennas spark red. The red sparks form into thin beams that fire out and begin to surge into the bullfrog. The frog starts to grow larger and larger as its warts begin to expand on its back. Horns burst from its head, and its muscles convulse. The landlord falls back screaming in horror as a giant mutant frog with bull-like horns and 4 red eyes stares down at his cowering form. Smiling like the maniac he is, Anemo explains the other function of his invention. Oh, I should also mention that this device gives me complete control over my creatures. Anemo begins to laugh hysterically to himself as the extra-large amphibian leans towards the horrified landlord. Like the monster it is, it gulps up the landlord before he can even blink. Panicking, the landlord desperately tries to free himself. From outside, the frog one can see the desperate attempts for freedom of flailing about in its enlarged throat. Ha ha ha, I'm sorry I can't hear you. Sounds like you got a frog in your throat. Ha ha ha, or is that the other way around? Anemo nearly falls over in laughter as the thrashing begins to diminish. Anemo eventually stops laughing, sighing he rubs his eyes. My work is truly brilliant, but how am I, Dr. Aloysius J. Anemo, supposed to show the world my genius? Leaning against his abomination, Dr. Anemo wonders what to do next. He doesn't have a lot of options considering he's seen as a mockery by the science community. He has no connections, no allies, and no money. All because no one can see the potential in his quirk or in his mind. He can evolve animals, give them power that quirked individuals would be envious of. They would upstage heroes and bring a new order into this world. Yet they deny him of his rightful glory. That's when out of corner of his eyes, he notices the TV flash to a commercial advertising the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall. Dr. Anemo grins, a plan hatching within his mind. Ah, just what the doctor ordered. The Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall is huge with stores that sell nearly everything you can think of. The mall is so large that other companies rent out their own parts of the buildings. For example, one part of the mall is used to house a radio tower. Izuku, however, is outside the mall wandering around through the expansive parking lot. Where is he? He turns here and there searching for Henzu. Henzu texted him saying that he's near the east side of the parking lot, but this place is overcrowded with people and cars. A heavy hand made of red steel grips the lost teen's shoulder from behind, making Izuku freeze up. Give me your cash if you know what's good for ya. Izuku visibly relaxes. Does it even matter? I mean, you're probably going to make me pay for everything today anyway. He turns smiling at his best friend. Henzu grins, shrugging his shoulders. Fair point. He releases his quirk, turning his skin from a red metallic color back into flesh. Good to see ya, buddy. It's been a while since we did something like this. Yeah, Izuku can't help but feel bothered by the fact that Henzu was red. Because when that occurs, it's because of when he absorbs something. He also gains the pigment of said object. Did you break into something? Henzu doesn't even flinch at Izuku's bluntness. At this point, both of them are used to this sort of interaction. Instead of looking embarrassed, Henzu looks almost proud. I may or may not have broken into a car or two. Besides, it's not like you got any proof. Izuku internally deadpans. He's too much sometimes. With hearty laughs, the two head for the mall, passing by a red car with a busted window. Izuku has a great time at the mall. They window shopped on their way to the arcade, with a few stores catching their attention. The greenette was practically drooling at the sight of the hero merchandise store, his eyes mesmerized by all the posters, figurines, and other collectibles. So much so that Henzu had to drag him away. Even though Henzu was annoyed by the sight of the store, he did find Izuku's reaction a bit amusing. They eventually get to their destination, a brand new and expansive arcade with all the latest gaming technologies and games of all genres: shooting, dancing, racing, and even pinball. Henzu dominates most of the competitive games, such as the racing game, Street Fighters, and air hockey. That said, Izuku does prove himself at the co-op shooting games, skee-ball, and most solo-player games. At one point, Henzu got into an argument with a group of delinquent high schoolers. Izuku tried to break them up before a fight broke out, but Henzu got an idea. A few minutes later, Henzu is walking away a little bit richer after defeating the punks at Street Fighters. Although Izuku is pretty sure he cheated by absorbing some electricity to shock his opponents in order to throw them off. Deciding that it was enough, the duo decide to head down to the cafeteria for some lunch. Izuku folds his arms, feeling very disappointed, while also trying to avoid bumping into other shoppers. Why did you have to do that? What? You know. Realizing what he meant, Henzu rolls his eyes. Come on, Izuku, they were asking for it. Someone had to put them in their place. Izuku mutters under his breath. You didn't even win fairly. Henzu suddenly stops becoming serious. He turns so he can face his friend face to face. You've got to stop thinking like that. Stopping, Izuku's eyes widen. Like what? That playing by the rules is going to lead you to success. News flash, the concept of fair and square is total bullshit. Those rules are only in place to stop those that are superior from outshining their inferiors. Henzu folds his arms, his eyes soften slightly, but he holds his serious expression. This is something that you ought to know by now. Izuku's head droops. That doesn't make it right, though. What's right and what's wrong are totally subjective. Izuku is not entirely sure what his friend is talking about. Realizing this, Henzu continues. Okay, for example, stealing is wrong, right? Of course. Okay, but what if someone stole so they could provide for their family? Is it wrong then? That's a tricky question. Well, if they had the time, I'm sure they could find another way. Henzu shakes his head in disapproval. Time isn't the problem. It's society, it's the rules that govern it, that can lead people to break the rules, to not play fairly. Izuku is still not sold on this idea. Ultimately, life ain't fair, so why should you play fair? If you have the skills to survive and provide for yourself, even if it breaks the law, then you should be able to do it. Henzu notices a girl strolling towards them. Izuku hasn't noticed her. She has shoulder-length chestnut hair with two longer clumps curving towards her round face. She is completely oblivious to the two of them within the bustling crowd. She passes them by without so much as a glance. As she walks away, Henzu turns back to Izuku. So, if I need cash for some new game system, then I should be completely justified to take it, because I have the ability to do so without anyone noticing. Henzu holds up a little pink wallet that clearly isn't his. Instantly, Izuku understands the situation. He pickpocketed the poor girl. Henzu, stop. You can't do that. Relax, she didn't even notice. Henzu smirks, feeling as he waves the wallet around. Besides, it's not like you'd rat me out. Hey, that's mine. A feminine voice with a cross tone yells back at them. Henzu twists around as Izuku silently begins to panic. Behind them stands the same girl that Henzu just pickpocketed. She is a short girl of slender yet feminine build. She is fair-skinned with a perpetual blush on her cheeks. Her eyes are large and round, their irises a warm brown. She's wearing a dark pink t-shirt and black gym shorts that extend to her knees, and white shoes. She holds her hand out, trying her best to look firm. "Give it back," she demands with as much conviction as she can muster. Henzu gives Izuku a look, smirking mischievously, seeing an opportunity to have a teaching moment for his friend. Henzu gives the girl a nasty grin. "Ah, you want it? Then you're going to have to take it back." Henzu touches the ground, absorbing the tile, thus changing his skin to the hardened substance. The round-faced girl tries her best to stay composed, but it's clear that she's not so sure about this anymore. But that's all the money she has. She literally can't afford for this thug to take it from her. Henzu is able to pick up on her hesitation. After years of taunting and picking fights, you pick up on people's mannerisms, especially when it comes to confrontations. Clearly this girl would like to run, but she won't for whatever reason. It's an opportunity to show Izuku that if she's capable of taking the wallet back, then she earned it. But if she has to use her quirk, thus break the law, to do so the better. Even if she doesn't, Henzu will still get his point across by using his quirk, that if you want something, you need to have the will to break the rules to get it. Izuku, not quite sure what's going on, doesn't want to fight to break out. Last thing he needs is for the authorities to arrest them for thievery and illegal quirk usage. With one swift motion, Izuku swipes the wallet from the taller teen's hand. He falls onto his knees, bowing for forgiveness, holding up the wallet like an offering. "I'm so sorry. Please forgive my friend. He didn't mean it." The girl's eyes pop out for a minute, staring at the begging brunette. "And no, I'm pretty sure he did." Even Henzu has to agree. "Yeah, I did." She scowls at him while he smirks in response. "I'm really sorry. Please, I'm begging you, don't report us." A fountain of tears gushes out from the brunette's eyes, so much so that it begins to soak through their shoes. Other customers notice and begin to move away. The girl steps back, avoiding the growing puddle. "Ah, okay. She takes back her wallet. Izuku sniffs, regaining himself. "Thank you." Henzu rubs his ear. "You're too loud." The girl firmly grips her wallet. "That said, I don't appreciate being robbed." Henzu opens his mouth, readying a remark, but Izuku jumps back up onto his feet. "Here, I'll make it up to you. We were just heading to the cafeteria. I can pay for your lunch. You can get whatever you want. It'll be my treat." Henzu isn't so sure it'll be that easy. Nice try, Izuku, but there is no way she'll accept. Her reaction is not what he's expecting. Her eyes are glazed over, glowing with excitement, as drool drips from her gaping mouth, as if imagining all the tasty treats she can have. "You gotta be kidding." As the girl happily accepts the offer, the three teens don't notice a smelly man with a large box walking past them. Dr. Anemo gazes up at the pet shop a floor above them. He smiles, putting his crooked teeth on display. The round-faced girl holds her cheek, tongue sticking out, enjoying the delicious jumbo sundae that she ordered. It's so good." Henzu is sitting across from her with a plate of cheese fries. He's taken slightly aback by the result of his thievery. "I wasn't expecting this." Izuku is sitting between the two, tears streaming down his eyes. All he has is a cup of water. "My poor wallet, it's empty." Deciding not to feel down, Izuku attempts to distract himself. "So, can we assume that all is forgiven?" The cute girl nods her head, dipping her spoon in for another scoop. "Oh, heck yeah." After taking a bite, she puts down the spoon. "Oh, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Ochako Uraraka." Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya and this is Henzu Uichi." Izuku becomes very nervous now that he realizes that he's actually having a conversation with a girl. "It's nice to meet you, Midoriya." Her smile turns mischievous as she shifts her attention to the black-haired thug. "And it's nice to know the name of the person who robbed me. Now I can properly file a report to the police." Henzu growls. Where was that confidence earlier? That immediately shuts her up. She pouts, making her cheeks puff out in annoyance. Izuku immediately jumps in trying to mediate the situation. So, you're Araka, what brings you here today? The distraction works. Oh, I'm just browsing for today, trying to get the lay of the land. She becomes embarrassed, rubbing her head. I actually don't have enough money to buy anything too big. Henzu sits up straight, deadpanning. Then why did you stand up to me? Lay of the land. Did you just move here? No, not yet. Well, maybe. It depends on if I pass the UA entrance exam. The freckled-faced boy immediately lights up. You're going to take the exam too? Yeah. Wait, so you're taking it too? This is so great. I'll know somebody, maybe we can help each other out. Why, yeah. Henzu throws his head back in exasperation. Ah, not another one. Ochako looks to Izuku for clarification. He doesn't like heroes all too much. What? Ochako can't help but stare. How could you not like heroes? What is there to like in the first place? Ochako looks ready to argue, but from the corner of her eye she can see Izuku gesturing and shaking his head. Understanding that he's saying not to drag out an argument, she shuts her mouth and sits back. Izuku gives her a grateful smile. I don't get something. What's that? How are you two friends? She points at them. I mean, you're so nice while he's so mean. You like heroes and he doesn't. You follow the rules and he's a delinquent. Henzu grins and gives her a thumbs up, taking the insult as a compliment. I can answer that question, said Delinquents leans onto his friend. This guy, despite his hero obsession, is one of the most honest and loyal people I know. No matter what bad shit I pull or drag him into, I know he'll have my back, and I have his. Right, buddy? All right. Truth be told, Izuku is not sold with his own answer. Of course, he'll always have Henzu's back, but as for the honesty part, he's going to have to disagree with that statement. After all, he still hasn't told Henzu about his watch, or at least that he has a quirk. Sure, he promised 13 that he'd keep it a secret, but he did consider telling his best friend about it. Maybe he should say something now. If he gets into UA, then he's going to find out anyway. Plus 13 and him have already come up with a cover story. Hey Henzu, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? Before Izuku can tell him, a loud rumble and an eruption of screams resonate throughout the shopping mall. A cloud of dust and smoke emerge from the opposite end of the mall from the cafeteria. Some patrons, mostly those with small children, make their way to the exits as fast as they can while most of the bystanders stand and watch. What was that? Is it a villain? I wonder which hero is going to show up. Ochako is freaking out. Oh my god, what are we going to do? Henzu replies, he's really annoyed by how dumb some people can be. Leave, obviously. Henzu grabs Izuku by the shoulder and begins leading him away. Ochako fearfully follows them, unsure about what to do. While being led away, Izuku can't help but wonder what's happening. Force of habit is nagging at him to get his hero analysis notebook out, but there's no way Henzu is going to let him stay and watch. Ochako glances back at the smoke. Fear and surprise spread across her face at what she sees. Without a second to waste, she throws herself at the two boys. Get down! She shoves them to the ground with her just as something big and screeching whooshes past their heads. Henzu, flipping himself over, snarls. What was that for? The teen's voice softens, staring wide-eyed at the monster flying above them. Izuku, rubbing his head, looks up and begins shaking in fear. Flying above the open roof of the mall is a monster of a bird. It looks like a giant 6 foot tall with gray sharp feathers, a jagged beak, and piercing red eyes. The mutant bird gives a terrifying and rattling cry before swooping down on the shocked crowd. People finally realize the situation and begin to panic, throwing the entire mall into chaos. The bird tries to snatch up a few customers only to grab their bags or miss them completely amongst the chaos, although it does manage to knock some poor people over. Izuku is shaking watching the chaos ensue. What is that thing? Henzu picks himself up. Whatever it is, I'm not staying to find out. Henzu gestures to a nearby emergency exit. It's gone unnoticed by the fleeing patrons mainly because it's in a narrow hallway between two food stalls. The three rush over with Henzu flinging the door open only to stop dead in his tracks with Izuku and Ochako slamming into his back. Izuku's nerves are really getting to him. Why'd you stop? Looking up, he gets his answer. A giant monster frog with horns is staring down at them with 4 red eyes. The 4 individuals hold their gaze, unable to look away. Never mind. And with that, the 3 kids scramble back through the emergency exit just as the frog lashes its disgusting green tongue at them. Luckily, Henzu is able to slam the door shut before it can reach them. Catching their breath, they check up on the situation within the rest of the mall. It's a complete disaster. Although there are clearly less people around, there are still a few that are unable to escape the onslaught, for the entire mall appears to have been taken over by giant mutated animals. There are not only more mutated frogs and birds, but giant hamsters with spider-like eyes, mutated goldfish that have grown legs that look like a combination of fins and reptile feet, and saber-tooth-like cats with spikes protruding from their backs. Ochako is nearly in tears. What the heck is happening right now? There are monsters everywhere. Henzu is not able to come up with a reply. Even he finds the scene disturbing. Izuku's heart beats faster, his breath stiffens, as he watches innocent people being attacked. Their screams and cries of fear fills his ears. They're begging for help, for someone to save them, for a hero. We have to help them. It takes the other 2 a minute to realize what he just said. Henzu spins around so fast that Izuku thinks that his head would have flung off. Are you crazy? Ochako speaks up as well, although she looks a bit hesitant as if she wants to agree with Izuku instead. The heroes should be here soon. There's no need to put ourselves in danger. No, they won't be. If they were, then they'd be here already. What do you mean? That frog was guarding the exit, not just to keep us in, but to keep anyone from getting in. Ochako puts 2 and 2 together, as in keeping the heroes out. Izuku nods, his eyes turning serious with worry. Yeah. Henzu throws his head back, really annoyed by the news. PHFT, typical. Heroes are all talk and no bite. There's something else bothering Ochako. Wait, if that thing and others like it are on guard and other monsters are attacking, then that means this attack was planned. Yeah, there must be a villain running around turning pets into monsters and is able to organize them, probably with some kind of mind control. The greenette begins to ramble on into a storm of muttering. The muttering weirds out the chestnut-haired girl. He's really good at figuring these kinds of things out, isn't he? Henzu deadpans. You have no idea. Izuku looks out again. He spots a TV across from them. The TV is on the news channel and is broadcasting the attack on the mall. From what he can tell, several heroes have arrived on the scene. But as he thought frogs are guarding the entrance, mutant birds are blockading the sky, and even monster fish are patrolling the sewers. Help is clearly not coming anytime soon. We're wasting time. We need to save these people. Henzu smacks Izuku over the head before hoisting him up by the collar. Don't be stupid. How are you supposed to help them? You're quirkless, after all. Ochako's eyes widen in surprise. She had honestly thought that there weren't any quirkless people left in Japan, at least those that are around her age. Yet he wants to be a hero. That's crazy, but also kind of inspiring and noble. Izuku's eyes shift downwards. Even if I'm quirkless, even if I'm crippled, even if there is no hope, I can't just stand by and do nothing. I have to do something. It's a hero's job to save everybody. He locks eyes with his friend, daring him to try and stop him, his soul burning for action and to carry out his words. Henzu glares back, feeling very frustrated right now. Izuku's words ring throughout Ochako's head. Save everybody. Henzu looks away, his hair blocking the view of his eyes. That's very admirable. It is, but you are Quirkless. Henzu shoves Izuku against the wall. What do you expect to do? Go out there and run around like a tasty treat for all those things? No, I'm going to run out there and save them. Abandoning his reservations about his quirk, Izuku activates his watch. Henzu raises an eyebrow and Ochako stares in awe at the alien green glow emanating from the strange device. Izuku rotates the dial, finding the correct transformation, and slams the dial down. In a flash of light, Izuku disappears and is replaced by a blue raptor-like creature. You can stay here if you want. I won't force you to help. Henzu's mouth drops in pure shock, and Ochako's eyes expand in surprise. Oh, I'm not quirkless, by the way. XLR-8 stats a matter-of-factually. He then notices a mutant hamster approaching a fallen girl. Look, I'll explain later, but for now. A visor covers XLR-8's face before he zooms away, leaving the other two in a very stunned and confused state. Henzu continues to stare as the morphed Izuku zips around grabbing victims before they can be harmed and getting them to safety outside. Henzu notices the TV broadcasting the news from it. He can actually see a blue blur moving in and out of the mall, leaving behind surprised and dazed people. His shock, however, turns into frustration. How could Izuku do this? How could he lie to him? Has he been lying the entire time? Was he just playing everyone? He'd be impressed if he wasn't one of the people being conned. Ochako is amazed at what she's seen. Her new friend just shapeshifted into a dinosaur that can run at lightning-fast speed. It's incredible he's doing exactly what he said he would. He's saving everybody. But she thought that Uichi said that he was quirkless. Meanwhile, XLR-8 is dashing across the mall, snatching up people left and right before taking them outside and away from danger. He considered grabbing a hero or two and taking them into the mall, but they are too busy preventing any mutants from harming the people he just saved or the crowd of spectators that has formed around the entire mall. As he re-enters the mall, a well-timed tongue lash from a giant frog trips the speedster, sending him crashing into a few tables in the cafeteria. Luckily, his helmet is strong enough to prevent a concussion, but his body aches in pain. Ouch. The frog croaks just before it lunges itself forward, its mouth wide open to scoop up and chomp down on the blue reptile. XLR-8 flinches, his arms raised to protect himself. But nothing happens other than the sound of croaking moving away from him. Opening his eyes, he stares as the giant frog floats skyward into the air while it struggles to regain its balance. That's when XLR-8 notices Ochako standing there with her hands raised forward. She couldn't stand by and do nothing. Izuku is out here and giving it his all. She can't stand by and watch as he gets eaten by a monster. With confidence, she presses her hands together. Release. The mutant begins to plummet, crash landing onto a small kiosk. XLR-8 dashes over to Ochako. Uraraka, that was amazing. Was that your quirk? Is it gravity-based? Is it an emitter or a mutation? Can you use it on me? Ochako can't possibly answer the barrage of questions, especially since XLR-8 is throwing them out a mile a minute. It's my quirk. It's called zero gravity. I can make anything that I touch weightless. She furiously rubs the back of head, feeling very bashful. Wow, so cool. The frog begins to stir. It corrects its orientation and lashes out its tongue. Acting fast, XLR-8 grabs Ochako and runs away, allowing the tongue to smash into a table. The frog continues its attack, with XLR-8 just barely managing to avoid the tongue lashes. XLR-8 makes a mad dash for the nearby escalator. It should take them up to the second floor and away from the amphibian. Before they can make it, one of the mutated cats pounces out from above, blocking their path. Unable to stop, XLR-8 slides past the feral cat, slamming into the wall. He uses his body to cushion the blow for Ochako. The frog joins the saber cat, the two beasts growling as they prepare to maul the downed teens. The monster feline goes first. pouncing with its sharp black claws out and ready to slash them to ribbons. XLR-8 instinctively moves to cover Ochako, while she herself cowers in fear. Get away from them. The sound of clanging metal bashes into the large cat's head, redirecting it and sending it crashing through the store window. A metallized Henzu, having absorbed the matter from a metal pipe, couldn't let those two idiots get into trouble without him. He's the ultimate troublemaker. It's an insult if he stays back and misses the opportunity to break those stupid quirk regulation laws. Plus, the prospect of fighting giant monsters is way too awesome to pass up. Henzu turns to the other two who are staring at him in complete surprise. Don't gawk at me. We have some heads to bash. He backhands the frog's tongue away before it can hit him. Also, Izuku, we're going to have a long talk after all this. Ochako and Izuku look to each other. They nod in agreement before getting up. XLR-8 begins spinning around the frog, distracting it. It works as the frog tries to lash out at him, but misses every time. Ochako presses her hands onto Henzu's back, pushing him up into the air. When he rises above the frog, she releases her zero-gravity effect, and he plummets downward. He pile-drives into the frog's skull, smashing it into the ground and knocking it unconscious. Henzu raises his fists into the air. I gotta admit, that was pretty cool, he proclaims, grinning like an idiot all the while. Ochako gives a big thumbs up. Yeah, it was. XLR-8 smiles as well, but a distant scream startles him. We're not done. There may still be some people left. Ochako frowns. You're right, we need to do something. We scour the mall and save whomever we can. Are you with me? Yeah. Henzu jokingly postures himself to look like he's thinking. Fine. XLR-8 smiles in appreciation. Then let's be heroes. The three unlicensed heroes make their way through the mall. Luckily, most of the mutants have migrated outside the mall to help prevent pro-heroes from entering. That said, there are still quite a bit of them within the mall itself. With their speed, strength, and support, they are able to fend off, or at least distract the mutants, allowing XLR-8 to speed any victims away. Fortunately, there are not many people left behind. Each of them gets a moment to shine throughout the next few minutes. Within a clothes store, XLR-8 took a frog for a spin by using its own tongue to tie it up by running around it. In a video game store, Henzu punches a mutant hamster so hard in the face that he shattered its giant teeth. He also may have taken a game or two with him as he left. In a furniture store, Ochako uses her quirk to move a large couch that she uses to pin down a mutated goldfish with piranha-like teeth. Later, inside a bookstore, Ochako levitates a fallen shelf that landed on an unconscious woman. XLR-8 picks the woman up and speeds away. Ochako immediately barfs up what looks like rainbow glitter. The side effect of her quirk has finally caught up with her. Henzu fends off another mutant hamster. You all right? Ochako coughs. Why, yeah, I just need a minute. XLR-8 returns, tackling the hamster and knocking it away. I checked the rest of them all. We can make a run for it now. Henzu reverts his skin back to normal. Was that a pun? Yeah, I thought it would be funny. Between breaths, Ochako chirps in. It needs work. Noted. Anyway, we'll do this one at a time. I'll get you guys outside, and we can leave the rest to the heroes. Ochako nods. If she tries to talk, there's a good chance that her breakfast will join her lunch on the floor. Meanwhile, Henzu walks over to a broken cash register, grinning like a Cheshire cat. He immediately snatches up any loose bucks. XLR-8 bends down to pick up the round-faced girl who's covering her mouth. Good job, hero. He picks her up bridal style. Ochako looks away blushing. Yeah, you too, hero. XLR-8 grins, but his delightfulness is cut short by the sound of beeping and a flash of red light. Izuku immediately falls over, with Ochako landing on top of him as he returns to normal. Izuku has a hard time breathing with Ochako sitting on his chest. Ochako is too dumbfounded to move. Henzu finally notices Izuku struggling underneath the confused girl. What the hell happened? Ochako finally scrambles away as Izuku sits up. It's my what quirk? It's my quirk. I can transform, but only for 10 minutes. Cool, so just transform back. I can't. It takes another 10 minutes for my quirk to recharge. We really need to have a talk. Before Izuku can respond, more rumbling and animalistic cries shake them all. Ochako chokes out in confusion. What was that? They sneakily peer out the store window, seeing even more mutant pet animals patrolling them all. Large dinosaur-like turtles, horrifying lizards, and nightmarish rabbits. There's even more of them. Ochako whispers harshly as the three of them sneak back towards the end of the store to avoid detection. What's even causing this? A fixated look crosses Izuku's eyes. The villain. Henzu immediately recognizes that stupid look. No way, you can't be serious. Ochako is rightly puzzled. What is it? He wants to go after the villain. What? Izuku has the decency to look embarrassed. The heroes are still stuck outside, and there are even more mutants. If they get out, they can cause a disaster. Not to mention haunt people's dreams for years to come. We have to at least slow down the villain's plan until a pro-hero can get here. Henzu can't help but be frustrated.
God, do you have a death wish or something?
Ochako doesn't agree with that statement, but even she has to agree with him. He's kind of right, Midoriya, you don't even know where the villain is. That's true. For all he knows, this may be a horrible accident caused by radiation, or a secret government experiment that's gotten loose somehow. Izuku's mind fills with every possible detail, explanation, and question. What do they want? What are they after? What is their quirk? Where are they? Izuku's mind spins these questions around his head, until it all clicks together. The cell tower. Ochako tilts her head. What? The cell tower. That's what the villain is after. Why do you say that? Nothing is being taken, not even the money. Henzu's eyes dart to the cash register that he stole from. It's true, the mutant hamster didn't even glance at the money. And even their assault. They weren't trying to keep people in, they were trying to chase them out. Izuku's reasoning begins to make sense in Ochako's mind. And look where the monsters are coming from. Ochako glances over the shelves, noticing that the monsters are all headed away from the same direction. From the same direction as the cell tower. Yup. Henzu folds his arms. But why would the bastard want the cell tower for? Control. He clearly lost Henzu and Ochako. If they can control these things, what's to say they can't control other animals, or make even more of them? Ochako considers the possibility. As she thinks about it, Izuku's logic makes more and more sense. What if this is only the first wave, the calm before the storm? What would happen if more monsters appear, or even if everyday pets go wild? The damage could be too great. The brunette nods, her hair bouncing slightly. Okay, let's go get that villain. Izuku is a bit surprised. He really thought that they'd be unwilling. Really? You sure? You don't have to do this if you don't want to. Ochako shakes her head. It doesn't matter if I want to or not. I have to do this. I can't stand the thought of people getting hurt by these things. I'm with you, Midoriya. Izuku gives her a grateful smile, one she is happy to return. Izuku glances at Henzu. He doesn't have to ask, but he does. What about you? Henzu looks away, feeling very annoyed and upset. You with me or not? Izuku hesitates before continuing. Or was all that talk about having my back a lie? Anger flashes in Henzu's eyes, and Izuku immediately regrets saying anything. Henzu ultimately gives in. I've got your back. He gives the shorter teen a small smirk. You know I'm kinda proud. That was a really dirty trick you just pulled. I learned from the best. Izuku turns, gazing out at the ever-increasing threat as his companions join his side. Let's do this, guys. His eyes fixate onto the distant cell tower and their goal. It's hero time. The weakened All Might is strolling through the now repaired and calm Tatooine Station shopping district. He stopped by to do some grocery shopping and to reflect on his failure from a month ago. Pathetic. This place may be up and running with happy faces and a peaceful atmosphere, yet he wasn't the one to help make it that way. No, he had to uselessly watch while someone else, a real hero, stepped in to clean up his mess. Damn it! He already had the slime villain captured, but he allowed himself to be distracted. No, he will not blame the boy. Actually, he feels even worse because of what he said to that kid with the mop of messy green hair and freckles. He'll never forget the boy's face when he told him to give up on his dream. Pathetic. He needs to fix this. Maybe he should track the boy down. Izuku Midoriya was his name. It would be pretty easy. He could just ask Tsukachi to look him up for him. But what would he say? What could he do? Would the boy even want to talk to him? He knows that he himself wouldn't want to. A small crowd has formed around a TV store. They appear to be watching the news. All Might is so lost in his thoughts to notice. We're live outside the Kiyashi Ward shopping mall, where animal-like monsters have gone on a rampage. All Might stops and spins around. He tries his best to look over the shoulders of those in front. He can see the local news anchor standing in a parking lot. Behind her, he can see a few pro-heroes wrangling what appears to be a large hamster. According to our sources, the pro-heroes cannot enter the premise thanks to monsters blockading the entire mall. Even the sewers are blocked off by fish monsters. A pit forms in All Might's stomach. However, one hero may have gotten in and has saved a number of victims. A clip plays. It was taken by a hand-held phone, so the picture is not that good, but it's enough. The cameraman is outside the mall watching the heroes fighting a mutant frog. A blue blur passes by them all. The camera spins around, showing a confused and startled woman with disheveled hair and clothes standing there as a gust of wind rushes by. The blue blur returns several more times, and each time a new person is rescued. All Might watches in amazement. He can't think of any hero with that kind of speed or wears blue. Sure, there are speedster heroes out there like Ingenium, but this doesn't appear to be his work. Maybe they're a new hero or someone who's not as well known. Yet there they are running head first into danger, putting their lives on the line in order to save others. A real hero unlike him. He's supposed to be a teacher soon, and he has to find and mentor a new successor. But how can he? Sure, there's Sir Nightie's recommendation, but what if he crushes his dream, too? What if he's not good enough to teach, to mentor, to inspire others? All Might shakes his head. No, stop it. Don't think like that. Just keep smiling. The young broadcaster continues her coverage while running. We have a new development. More monsters have emerged from within the mall and are now driving back the heroes. We have been ordered to evacuate to a safe distance. Monster turtles, lizards, and rabbits charge out of the main entrance where pro-heroes intercept them. All Might glares at the offending beasts. That's it. No more standing by. He is determined to fix his failure, and he can start now. The number one hero pulls out his cell phone, making a quick call. Tsukachi, I need you pick me up from the Tatooine Station shopping district. He takes off, hoping to meet Tsukachi halfway. Meanwhile, 13 watches the same broadcast from his desk computer at their agency. They immediately recognizes the blue blur as Izuku's XLR-8 form. 13 rubs their head, trying to stop a migraine from forming. This kid is going to drive me insane. Somewhere within Earth's orbit, the damaged alien cruiser is still monitoring the Omnitrix's activity. The commander is alerted about the Omnitrix activating again, thanks to their sensors pinpointing where it was activated. The monitor drone pulls up the same news broadcast that All Might was watching. An idea forms in the commander's head as he watches the mutant animals engage Earth's heroes. The commander has a hard time speaking from within his medical tank. This is an opportunity. The cell tower is located in the middle of a large open ceiling room, surrounded by other service units such as air conditioners, fans, vents, electrical boxes, etc. A scientist with shaggy white hair and pale green skin can be found at the base of the cell tower. Dr. Anemo has installed makeshift computers and wires all across the tower. Mutant are perched among the tower and other mutant animals patrol around it. He continues to jury-rig the wiring, trying to gain control over the cell tower. Soon I will show the world the genius of Dr. Aloysius J. Anemo. He plugs in a few wires into the circular device on his chest. With this cell tower, I will be able to broadcast my mutation ray throughout a large area, and with my transmodulator, I will gain control over all those wonderful mutants. And then, and only then, will everyone see my genius. Dr. Anemo laughs maniacally, dreaming of his scientific victory. Behind a nearby air conditioning unit, Izuku, Henzu, and Ochako sweat drop. Wow, he villain monologued and everything. They are really surprised that the villain was so idiotic to spill out all that information. The three of them had snuck their way over to the cell tower using the stores, benches, and anything else to hide themselves from the mutants. Ochako even floated them across from the second to the third floor to avoid a prowling mutant cat. They arrived at the cell tower in time to hear Dr. Anemo's evil plan. Coincidentally, the time it took for them to get there gave Izuku's watch enough time to recharge. Henzu can't take his eyes off the madman. This idiot is the one attacking them all. Ochako and Izuku look downward with embarrassed grins, unsure on how to respond. Ochako looks to Izuku for answers. What do we do now, Midoriya? Well, thanks to his *** speech, we now know his full plan and quirk. So, the best course of action is to get that device. Izuku points at Dr. Anemo's odd helmet and the device on his chest. But he's being guarded by mutants. How do we get close? Izuku takes a second to think and consider the options. I'll draw them away with one of my transformations. That's when you guys will double-team him, get the device, and smash it. Ochako looks like she wants to say something but doesn't. Henzu, however, notices. Take your Urako with you. Both Izuku and Ochako don't see the question coming. What? Two of you will make better bait. Plus, if something goes wrong, both of you can cover for each other. Besides, I don't think the quack is actually that dangerous on his own. As if to prove his point, Dr. Anemo zaps himself while hot-wiring. Izuku nods. Okay. He turns to the brunette. You ready? Yeah. Then let's go. The three split up with Izuku and Ochako going left while Henzu heads right. Once in position behind an exposed air vent, Izuku gives Ochako a pointed look as he activates the watch, allowing the faceplate to shoot up. Once I transform, they'll know that we're here. Are you sure you want to do this? Ochako's eyes tell him that she's more than ready. All right, it's hero time. Izuku slams the faceplate down, hoping for 4 arms, and sending out a flash of green light as a result. The mutants and Dr. Anemo's attention are instantly drawn to the flash of bright light. They spot, standing behind the air vent, a large bipedal turtle with holes in the front of its shell with large flipper-like arms and stumpy legs. The turtle looks at his hands. Oh. Ochako's eyes widen. Why, oh. I've never used this guy before. The morphed Izuku states simply, shrugging his shoulders. Ochako blanches as she screams in shock. What? Dr. Anemo's voice calls out to them. Hey, who are you? Izuku turns his head, finally realizing that all eyes are on him. He rotates his head, making sure that there's nobody else they could be looking at other than Ochako, who they haven't noticed yet from her crouched position. Oh, me? I'm I'm not really that sure. Can I get back to you on that? Dr. Anemo snarls. Are you mocking me? You dare mock the genius that is Dr. Anemo? What? Oh, yeah, totally. I am totally mocking you. Yeah, You are such a bad man. Ochako gives him a look from behind her hiding spot, silently asking if he's serious. Izuku shrugs as if to say that he's trying. How dare you? Somehow his horrible attempt at mocking the villain works. Before he knows it, something fast tackles him to the ground. A big mutant cat has him pinned, its claws digging into his chest. There is no pain thanks to the shell, even if it does have holes in it. The cat growls and takes a swipe at his head. Instinctively, Izuku retracts his head into the shell. Whoa, now, let's not lose our heads, all right? Dr. Animo slams a fist against the side of the cell tower. What are you waiting for? Kill him already. Izuku's arm reaches up, trying to swat the mutant away. No, get away! With his arms flailing about, they begin to straighten before beginning to rotating much like a fan. The spinning rapidly increases until a large current of air begins to levitate the cat off of his chest. The surprised mutant is shocked, but before it can process what's happening, the wind picks up, sending the cat flying. Dr. Animo looks completely outraged. What? Izuku stops spinning, popping his head out to look. Huh, so that's what he can do. Ochako stares in awe before shaking her head and helping the large turtle onto his feet. What now? Looking over to the psycho, Dr. Anemo growls while his mutants group around him snarling. He jabs a finger at the offenders. Get them, the mutants charge. Ochako and Izuku scream. Run! They both take off, with Ochako taking the lead, seeing as Izuku is having a hard time running with his stubby legs. One of the mutant hamsters jumps onto Izuku's back, making him fall down face first. Izuku tucks his head in, his arms and legs begin to rotate again, and his entire body begins to hover off the ground. As they are lifted up, the hamster loses its balance and falls off while unintentionally pushing the hovering Izuku forward. I can fly. Sweet. Hey, Uraraka? Ochako looks back while running. Yeah, whoa. Using his shell, Izuku pushes her onto his back. Hang on. Izuku propels the two of them away as the mutants give chase. The morphed Izuku heads towards the main stretch of the mall. Ochako can't help but smile at the sensation of flying. This amazing, Midoriya. Terraspin. Excuse me? Sorry, Terraspin is the new name for this form. What do you think? I like it. Something big and feathery knocks Ochako off Terraspin's back. A mutant that was patrolling the sky spotted the two teens running away and had swooped down to intercept them. Gives an ear-splitting cry as it grabs Ochako before taking off down the mall's main open hall. Uraraka. Terraspin chases after them, swiveling between pillars and indoor trees. Ochako wouldn't be lying if she said she wasn't scared out of her mind. Is this how it ends for her? No, it's not. She has to become a hero for her parents. She won't let some overgrown chicken get in the way of her dream. Twisting her body, Ochako presses her hands onto the bird's leg, hoping that the zero gravity will throw it off. It does. When the bird tries to make a turn to avoid Terraspin, it flaps its wings down, but the force is so strong that it propels the bird towards the side, where it crashes into the side of the second-floor wall. The impact is enough to drop Ochako. Seeing the new development, Terraspin speeds up as Ochako begins to fall. Terraspin stops rotating, grabs Ochako, and lands on his back, sliding across the tile floor until coming to a stop. Are you okay? Yeah, I think so. Roar. A loud roar startled them as the horde of mutants that's been following them finally catches up. I got this. Terraspin's arms straighten and his legs merge to form fan-like blades. The appendages begin to rotate and a current of wind hits the mutants at full force. But it's not enough to deter them. They force themselves forward, pushing against the wind. Ochako frantically looks around looking for a solution. One comes to her. Hold them off for as long as you can. Okay, but hurry. Back at the cell tower, Henzu is hiding behind an electrical box. He watched as a flash of green light and Izuku's horrible attempt at insults somehow managed to distract Dr. Animo. Dr. Anemo then idiotically sends all of the mutants after Izuku and Ochako. Admittedly, Henzu assumes that Izuku transformed back into his blue raptor form. Henzu walks forward and leans against the electrical box, crossing his arms and trying to look cool. "What's up, Doc?" Henzu's question startles Dr. Anemo, who flails his arms about in surprise. "What? Another one?" "All right, Doc." Henzu grips his trusty wrench, absorbing its matter and turning his skin into iron. "You ready to take your medicine?" Dr. Anemo growls, but he soon transitions into a fit of maniacal laughter. The teen is thoroughly confused. What's so funny? Dr. Anemo wipes a tear from his eye. "You are. You see, I'm not that kind of doctor. For you see, I am a scientist, one that specializes in mutations and animal biology. Would you care to see my greatest experiment yet?" Dr. Anemo excitedly rubs his hands together. Henzu becomes very alarmed as the ground begins to shake and a loud growl can be heard as something big approaches. "Meet my greatest creation." Dr. Anemo violently laughs as a monstrous being towers over the teen who struggles to keep his composure. And like the idiotic and campy villain he just has to add another villain trope into the mix. And your doom. Back in the main hall of the mall, Ochako is running around and pressing her hands onto anything that isn't bolted down, while Terraspin continues his whirlwind as the mutants inch their way closer and closer. Midoriya used these. Terraspin pops his head out of his shell, taking a look at all the tables, carts, stands, and trash cans floating in the air. "Oh, I get it." Terraspin flies back behind the floating items. The mutants take advantage and run forward. With Ochako safely behind him, Terraspin renews his whirlwind, launching the large objects at the terrifying creatures. With the objects moving quickly, Ochako returns their weight, making them the perfect blunt weapons. None of the mutants are able to avoid the attack, with each of them getting smacked around, immobilized, or knocked away. When there appears to be no risk of being attacked anymore, Terraspin stops the vortex and lands beside Ochako. Great plan, although it was a little more destructive than I would have liked. Terraspin's sweat drops at the sight of the wreckage. Garbage is lying everywhere. The floor is partially torn up. The indoor trees are missing leaves. And of course mutant animals are lying about the place. Ochako gives an awkward smile. "Oops. Well, at least it worked." "It sure did. Now let's head back. Hopefully Henzu was able to stop Dr. Anemo." Without being told, Ochako hops onto Terraspin's back, who immediately flies them back towards the cell tower. Terraspin goes through the mall, not flying higher than the 3rd floor, since there are still some mutant birds patrolling the sky, although they seem to be engaged with flying-based heroes and police helicopters. Now that the threat has passed, the teens make it back quickly, but they are in for a surprise. Dr. Anemo stands victorious, laughing with pride, the antennas on his head glowing red with flying red sparks. But that is not what has the teens so scared, but the monster standing beside him. A 3-headed dog that looks like it was summoned from hell itself, a Cerberus. The hellhound is about 20 feet tall. Its fur is a mix of gray, black, and red with glowing red eyes and menacing fangs. And it's using a metallized and banged-up Henzu as a literal chew toy. Even with his skin made of iron, Henzu can still feel the pain of the sharp giant fangs trying to pierce through his hide. The head chewing on him tosses him up, and the middle head snatches him by the foot. Henzu is in too much pain to put up much of a struggle. He tried his best at fighting off the monster, but it was far too strong for him. All he can do now is will himself to keep his quirk activated or risk being eaten alive. Dr. Anemo continues to laugh while Ochako and Terraspin are too stunned to even move. "Yes, soon my ingenious plan will come to fruition. I will have full control over every single animal in all of Kiyashi Ward. Just a few more minutes and I will have achieved greatness, ha ha ha." Terraspin and Ochako have the same reaction. He gave everything away again. But what can they do? To be honest, they've been really, and I mean really lucky today. Seriously, nothing they've done should have worked as well as they did. And now, they're up against a giant three-headed monster that managed to take out their best fighter. They have to do something. Even the insane doctor himself said that his plan is nearly complete. They don't get another minute to think up a plan before something big crashes right between the opposing sides. Dust and a large gust force everyone to cover their faces and to brace themselves. Dr. Anemo, however, is frozen in time with a proud and ambitious expression on his face. Something tall and made of metal moves within the dust cloud. Its red insect-like eyes scan the area before locking onto the symbol on Terraspin's chest. Terraspin instantly recognizes the newcomer. It's another attack robot. It's identical to the one that attacked him less than a day ago. And like the last one, this one instantly draws its attention towards him. The robot lifts its insect-like leg, but it stops when a shout reverberates from below it. "How dare you?" Dr. Anemo is definitely not appreciating the interruption. "I will not let some government-issued toy interfere with my genius. Destroy that abomination of science." The three-headed dog unceremoniously drops Henzu, who bangs against an air conditioner unit. The Cerberus growls before lunging at the robot, taking a bite out of its arm and ripping it off. The robot's eyes flash red as if to display how pissed off it is. In response, a total of 4 hover drones are ejected from the slots within its shoulders. The hover drones take aim and open fire upon the Cerberus. The dog's 3 heads bark and bite back in response, managing to bite down on one of the drones that got a little too close. With all the threats, distracted Terraspin sees the perfect opportunity to get both Henzu and Dr. Anemo. Quick, while they're fighting, let's grab Henzu, the device, and scram. Ochako rotates her head between the battle and Terraspin. "You sure?" "Yeah, I mean, it's not like it can get any worse." As if the universe itself was listening, another attack robot smashes into the ground behind the 2 teens. The 2 shakily look up at the menacing figure. "Oh, never mind, it just got worse. I'll hold it off." Terraspin generates a powerful vortex and slightly pushes the robot back. "Uraraka, get Henzu." "On it." The chestnut-haired girl sprints towards the downed Henzu, who after his fall reverted his skin back into flesh. Not concerned with being seen, Ochako leaps and bounds over rubble and vents before pressing a hand onto Henzu's back, making him float. She pulls him by the arm like a balloon and away from the fight. Looking back, she sees that Terraspin is grappling with one of the robots, while the other robot is blasting lasers at the Cerberus faces. One of its heads managed to take down one of the other hover drones. She stumbles as the ground shakes from the battle raging behind her. But she manages to get Henzu and herself to a narrow hallway that looks like it leads to several maintenance and tech rooms. She leans Henzu against the wall and out of sight before exposing him to Earth's gravity. She finally takes a real look at him. He's banged up, covered in scratches, and, is that saliva?" Henzu breathes heavily, looking up at Ochako. "Where's Izuku?" He's there." Henzu struggles to move his head, but when he does, he isn't happy with what he sees. Even as a transformed bipedal turtle, Henzu can recognize Izuku no matter how he looks. He just gives off a certain air or aura that screams foolish dedication to heroes. But what's really got him upset is that not only was Izuku hiding a transformation quirk from him, but that he has more than one transformation. What else is he hiding from him? How long has he been hiding the truth? How many times has he lied to his face? Ochako decided to check up on the situation. It's not good. Shrapnel and pieces of the hover drones are scattered across the battlefield. However, 3 other hover drones have joined the fight. They probably arrived with the second attack robot. From the corner of her eye, she notices that one of the dog heads is chewing on a 4th drone. The first attack robot is wrestling with the mutant hellhound as one of the heads tries to bite it. The robot blasts lasers from its eyes in response. Dr. Anemo is crazily shouting orders at his mutant dog. He is very aware that he has lost all control over the situation. Finally, two drones are circling the second robot as it holds Terraspin down by the back of his shell. Luckily, Terraspin managed to take cover in his shell as the metal enemy fires lasers at his armored hide. But the heat of the lasers are slowly working through his tough exterior. With Izuku in need of help, Ochako doesn't hesitate to run right into the fray. Her lack of hesitation should have been a clear mistake to her, especially as a shower of lasers dance across her path. Jumping to the side, Ochako looks up to see the two other hover drones levitating over her head, their blasters aimed right at her. Ochako can't look away as a threatening buzz of the blasters charging can be heard. This is it. I'm going to die. I couldn't save Midoriya or Uichi. I won't be able to give my parents the life they deserve. Ochako closes her eyes, accepting her fate, but she would rather not like to see the end coming. A rumbling can be heard in the distance. At first it is soft, a mere whisper, but it grows increasingly louder, so much so that all parties slowly freeze in place, their caution taking hold as they try to identify the source. And in less than a second a powerful gust of wind zooms seemingly out of nowhere, smashing into two hover drones, knocks back the attack drone, and grabs Terraspin. Ochako covers her eyes from the wind and dust, but looking up she can't help but stare in awe of the figure posing above her. I am here. Everybody, even the mutant hound, shouts at the top of their lungs in astonishment. All Might. Henzu is the only to remain silent, frowning. Yes, it is I, All Might. The #1 hero, in his full glory and costume, stands tall with his immortal smile as he holds Terraspin up in the air. After seeing the news feed, All Might had Tsukachi drop him off nearby. As they were approaching the mall, they spotted two large objects falling seemingly from the sky and into the far end of the mall, as well as destroying the cell tower. Assuming that's where the villain is, All Might charged right past the mutant animals that were blocking off the area and straight to where the cell tower is located. All Might looks like the Greek hero Atlas as he holds a tucked-up Terraspin up over his head like a glorified trophy. All Might smiles down at the amazed girl. Fear not, young lady. I shall save you from these monsters and machines. Terraspin's eyes pop out from his shell. Wait, monsters? He doesn't think that I'm a mutant, too, does he? Before he can say something, All Might throws him like he's a giant frisbee right at the enemies. Izuku can feel his shell spinning through the air before slamming through a robot, completely destroying it. All Might must have watched those old Marvel movies because, like Captain America's shield, Terraspin ricochets off the wall before slamming into the Cerberus, pushing it back. And then the alien turtle crashes into the last robot, smashing it to bits. Terraspin finally pops out of his shell, his head spinning, and his ears are ringing. Ah, I think I'm going to barf, blah. A shadow falls over him. The Cerberus's heads growl in unison at the offending turtle. Terraspin flails his arms about in an attempt to pick himself up. Detroit, All Might's voice gains their attention. Smash! The symbol of peace's fist collides with the side of the beast's face. The powerful blow dominoes to all three heads, and the force of the impact launches the Cerberus right at the cell tower. The mutant dog wails as it crashes into the metal exterior, breaking wires, cables, and the base of the tower. Red sparks immediately fly out and fry the hound, making it howl in pain before passing out. The red sparks, however, travel upward to the top of the tower where they violently discharge and dissipate. Dr. Animo watches in horror as his plan goes up in smoke. No, 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 Dr. Animo scowls at the #1 hero. How could you? Do you have any idea what you've done? Of course, I do. All Might seemingly teleports in front of the villain. Before Dr. Animo could even process what happened, All Might grabs him by the collar and lifts him up to eye level. I saved the day. All Might grabs the device on the doctor's head and rips it off. The transmodulator bounces off the ground, an antenna breaks off from the helmet, and red sparks violently fly out before the device falls silent and the red glow from the antennas die out. No, As Dr. Anemo falls into despair, red sparks begin to emanate from the mutant dog, and from what they can see in the sky, so do the mutant birds flying the perimeter. They can't see it, but all the mutants across the mall are having the same reaction. They all watch as the Cerberus begins to shrink and split apart, become 3 small puppies. It appears that the mutations must cause some major regeneration to occur, since the 3 puppies immediately wake up and begin playing around like nothing ever happened. Their fur aren't even messed up. Ochako holds her face, infatuation written all over her features. "Aw, so cute." She runs over and scoops up the little darlings, who happily wag their tiny tails and lick her face with affection, making Ochako giggle. Everyone watches in slight confusion. Dr. Anemo struggles, waving his fists about. "Curse you, All Might!" He attempts to punch All Might, but he clearly has never thrown a proper punch in his life. "You'll regret this." All Might literally laughs in the face of evil, or in this case Dr. Anemo, before cuffing him and dropping him to the ground. "Stay put, I wouldn't like to hurt an elderly gentleman such as yourself." "Who you calling old? You're only—" All Might chops Dr. Anemo behind the head, knocking him out cold. "Ha ha, that's enough out of you." All Might finally notices something. That large turtle never transformed back. Oh, no. Terraspin is back up on his feet, rubbing his head in pain. Terraspin flinches slightly as All Might approaches him, sweat dripping rapidly down his face. "Oh, hi." Terraspin cowers in fear. "Please don't hurt me." Despite his giant grin, a hint of shame can be expressed on All Might's face. "My apologies, please. I beg your forgiveness." "For what?" "For treating you as a villain. With all the different monsters running around, I just assumed you were one of them." Well, technically All Might was correct, but that assumption still hurts. "It's okay. I get it. There's no need to apologize." Besides, Terraspin knocks his flipper against his shell. "I'm pretty durable." "Thank you. However, I deeply regret my actions, so please let me make up for it somehow." "Oh, there's no need for that. You truly have a heroic spirit, but please, if there is anything I could do for you, just say the word." All Might's eyes shift down, examining the bipedal turtle before landing on the green hourglass symbol upon the creature's chest. Something seems familiar about the symbol. Where has he seen it before? Perhaps at the store, on a sign, maybe a commercial. "Pardon me, but that symbol on your chest, what is it exactly?" Terraspin begins to panic on the inside. It's a voice calls out to them. "Ha, there you all are." A hero in a spacesuit getup is jogging over to them, waving. Ochako instantly lights up in excitement. "Oh my gosh, it's 13. "Ah, 13. Good to see you." 13 finally makes it to the group. They're slightly out of breath. "Same, but we do have a problem." Terraspin tilts his head slightly. "What's that?" 13 deadpans. "You broke the law." For a split second, 13's eyes emit a terrifying and threatening leer at the transformed Izuku. "Both of you," he gestures to Ochako, who finally released the furballs, partook in illegal quirk use." Terraspin's stomach drops. "How could I forget my promise? Please forgive me." Ochako blanches. "This really is the end for me. There's no way UA will accept me now." "There's no need to worry about that." The teens' whitened faces regain their color. "Huh? I'll cover for you. I'll take responsibility. Plus, I have a trusted friend in the police force that can help cover this up. Don't worry, he can keep a secret." 13 considers the suggestion. They are still pretty upset though. All right. That works for me. I would hate to ruin future opportunities for them." Terraspin clasps his flippers together as if praying, and tears of joy stream down his face. "Thank you, All Might, and thank you for forgiving me, 13. 13 places a hand onto Terraspin's back as they start to lead him away. "I'll lead them out to safety." The rescue hero waves back at All Might. You distract the other pro-heroes and the media. No doubt they're swarming the place as we speak. Right, I'm on it. Farewell you two, but before we depart, can I at least get the names of today's real heroes? With amazement still glued to her face, the chestnut-haired girl answers first. I'm Ochako Uraraka. And I'm... For some reason Izuku's mind flashes back to his conversation he had with All Might from a month ago and the despair he felt afterwards. He also remembers that he told All Might that he was quirkless. How is he supposed to explain his sudden quirk? He's been waiting for too long. How should he respond? His mouth seems to come up with a response for him. Deku, I'm Deku. Ochako and 13 are rightfully confused, but they choose not to say anything. One out of respect for Izuku's wishes, while the other assumes that Izuku is trying to keep his quirk and himself undercover. 13's eyes tell Terraspin that they expect an explanation later. All Might raises an eyebrow, finding the name a bit odd, but he doesn't comment on it. Thank you for indulging me. All Might notices that Dr. Anemo is stirring from his position on the ground. The hero throws the villain over his shoulder. Now, if you excuse me, I have somewhere to be. And with that, All Might disappears in a gust of wind. The three left behind have that same reaction. There he goes. 13 claps their hands together. Anyway, let's get you two out of here. Terraspin remembers something very important. Wait, our friend is here, too. He got really banged up during the fight. 13 silently fumes in exasperation. Where are they? Ochako waves them over to the hallway where she hid Henzu in. He's over here, follow me. They are in for a surprise when they arrive. Ochako holds her head in alarm. Where'd he go? Indeed, Henzu is no longer present near the emergency exit. Quickly scanning the area, they confirm that he is no longer in the mall. I can call him. Terraspin pulls out his cell phone. Ochako's eyes widen in wonder. Where was he keeping that? Terraspin fumbles with the phone before accidentally dropping it. He leans forward to grab it, but his fins just can't seem to grip the tiny object. Curse these giant flippers. After what seems like forever, the watch finally times out, and in a flash of red Izuku turns back to normal. Izuku grabs his face to confirm it. Sighing in relief, he bends down, and finally snags his phone off the ground. 13's eyes widen, trying to act like they're amazed. Ah, you must have a transformation-type quirk. While dialing Henzu, Izuku gives his mentor an odd look. 13 returns the silent inquiry with an expression that says, act like we don't know each other. Izuku catches on. Oh, right. I mean, yes. Izuku lifts the phone up to his ear, but the call goes straight to voicemail. He's not answering. But when he thinks about it, it makes sense that he would bail. After all, he's been arrested a few times already. Plus, Izuku has seen him take some real beatings before. He'll bounce back quickly. He should be fine, though. 13 doesn't look too sure. Are you sure? Yeah, I can check up on him in person if need be. Okay, anyway, I need your names and some basic info. Ochako and Izuku visibly tense up. Don't worry, it's just so we can properly cover this up. Izuku continues the act. Oh, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Izuku looks to his accomplice. Ochako Uraraka. A pleasure to meet you both. Now let's get you both home before your parents worry. But before that, I'd like to take you both to the hospital. Don't worry, I'll cover all the expenses. The teen bow in gratitude. Thank you for everything. And with that said, the three sneak their way through the emergency exit and towards 13's car. A detective by the name of Naomasa Tsukachi intercepts them, and he explains that All Might has already filled him in on the situation. He does admit that he doesn't fully approve of it, but he ultimately sees no issue with it considering the circumstances. He also takes the time to thank the teens for putting their lives on the line. The two adults then lead the teens to 13's car, acting like they were victims that got caught in the attack as to not draw suspicion. Tsukachi waves them off as they drive away. The hospital is relatively close by. Even so, traffic seems to have built up thanks to the attack. Hey, Midoriya. With the adrenaline out of his system, Izuku reverts back into his old shy self, now realizing that a real girl is seeking conversation with him. He shifts in his seat so he can face Ochako. Why, yeah. Ochako gives him a kind smile, one that's full of respect. Thank you. For what? Ochako runs a hand through her hair. Her finger plays with one of her bangs. You were really inspiring. You encouraged me to be a hero today. I don't think I could have done what I did without you there with me. Oh, well, thanks for supporting me as well. Izuku looks away, trying to hide his furiously blushing face. It finally hits him that not only is he talking to a girl, but that he's been interacting with her, working with her, even physically coming into contact with her all throughout the day. It's too much to take in. But it all happened so fast, he wasn't even thinking when she climbed onto his back, or when he decided to pick her up and get her to safety. Ochako's voice brings him out of it. Can I get your number? Huh? Well, you said you wanted to get into Yua earlier. You know, before this all happened, and I think it would be great if we continued to support each other. He did mention that earlier, didn't he? The Greenette doesn't take long to think about it. Having another friend would be nice, especially one that won't drag you into trouble. Might be a nice change in pace. Wait, didn't he do that to her? Yeah, I'd like that. With a smile, Ochako holds her hand out for his phone. Izuku obliges her, handing it over. She immediately types in her contact info. Ochako hands it back. By the way, can I call you Deku? What? Oh, well, it's what you told All Might to call you. Is it a nickname? Izuku's nerves shoot up. And no, not exactly. It's actually an insult. What? That's so weird. I mean, Deku sounds like it gives off a you-can-do-it vibe. So, I kinda like it. A blushing and a highly strung Izuku stiffens. You can call me Deku. 13 chuckles from the driver's seat. The teens freeze up. They totally forgot that the hero was even there. Oh, don't mind me, you two. Just pretend that I'm not here. 13 laughs, amused by their antics and by the blushes that now adorn their faces. Moments like these are what makes being a teacher worthwhile, the opportunity to embarrass teenagers. Within a dark and garbage-ridden alley, a dark-haired teen limps by with an angry scowl. Henzu has definitely looked better, but he can't really complain. When All Might arrived, he took that as a sign to hightail it out of there. He has no desire to be arrested. Usually he'd feel pretty bad about leaving Izuku behind to fend for himself. But that anger and betrayal he feels about being lied to stops him from even thinking about it. What really set him off is when All Might so casually proclaimed that he'll take responsibility for their actions. Or as how Henzu sees it, All Might wants all the glory for himself. The #1 hero himself is going for an easy win that he didn't earn, and he's going to lie about it to the masses for more fame and glory. Luckily, sneaking out of the mall wasn't too difficult. The exit he used was near the back of the mall, and most of the crowds had gathered near the front of the mall as to get a better view. Henzu limped away until exhaustion hit him. Leaning against the wall of the alleyway, he collapses to the ground. Henzu snarls, absolutely pissed with this whole situation. Damn, these heroes. And damn, you Deku. An armored police transport is making its way towards Tartarus prison. From within the holding cell, Dr. Anemo sits alone, cuffed and soundly beaten. Curse those meddling kids. Curse that teenage mutant turtle. Curse you All Might. Nobody understands the true genius, the epiphany of brilliance, that is Dr. Anemo. A calm yet shadowy voice whispers, I beg to differ. Dr. Anemo frantically looks about the cabin. What? Who's there? A wisp of black smoke swirls over Dr. Anemo's head. The pale green man stares up in both awe and fear as the shadowy voice whispers its answer. Someone that can appreciate your genius. And without a sound, the swirling mass expands, engulfing the mad Dr. It's early in the morning, the sun having just barely risen less than an hour ago, giving the sky a beautiful hue of colors and producing a tranquil atmosphere. But a loud clang of metal disrupts this atmosphere as a stream of highly pressurized water blasts apart a trash heap. Scraps of metal and garbage are thrown across a beach, splashing into puddles of water, while a red, mollusk-like humanoid with green eyes blasts water out from their palms. I gotta admit, Water Hazard is pretty nifty. Water Hazard blasts a rusted car. The blast sends bits of trash and broken car pieces into the air. Seeing an opportunity, Water Hazard quickly fires out another stream of water, propelling the debris away. Ha, this is actually kinda fun. It's not supposed to be fun. The transformed Izuku stumbles in place. Watching, or more like glaring at him, is a steaming 13. The pro hero is rightly pissed about Izuku's stupid stunt at the mall a few days ago. That said, on one hand, the mentor side of 13 couldn't be prouder. But the professional and more responsible side of the hero overrides most of that feeling and replaces it with righteous fury and disappointment. As a result, 13 has been working Izuku's butt off this entire week during training sessions. So much so that Izuku has passed out on his bed whenever he gets home afterward. His mom actually had to shake him awake in order to feed him dinner and get him to bathe. However, through all of this, Izuku doesn't peep a word of complaint. He does have to face the consequences of his actions, if only those consequences didn't spread to school as well. The attack on the mall, or better known as the Mutant Siege, is the only thing anyone seems to be able to talk about. The media is blowing it up with praises of All Might for his victory against Dr. Anemo and his evil army of monsters. Speaking of the Quack, the police are under fire for losing the villain that managed to organize a terrorist attack while holding off the heroes. The police transport vehicle arrived at its destination, but they were in for a shock when they had no prisoner and no trace of where he went. Of course, the media swarmed upon them like flies on a corpse, demanding to know how and why the police could let this happen. And of course, Izuku's classmates just have to give their opinions on both matters. Most aren't really concerned with Dr. Anemo's disappearance. Instead, they can't help but find the monsters cool, and obviously All Might is always the highlight of any conversation. All the chatter around the two just hammer on Izuku's conscience. After all, he did get a good scolding from 13 afterwards because of the villain. But what really has him bothered is Henzu. While he was getting checked over at the hospital, Henzu finally texted him back saying that he was fine but would rather be left alone for a while. Figuring that he would get a chance to talk to him at school, Izuku shrugged it off as nothing to worry about. It's been 5 days and Izuku's nerves of guilt and worry can't seem to leave him be. Apparently Henzu skipped school on Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday he outright avoided Izuku. That move alone made Izuku feel absolutely shitty. In fact, he spent all of Wednesday chasing after his friend, but to no avail. Henzu actually ended up ditching class halfway through the day just to get out of interacting with his liar of a best friend. Don't just stand there, keep it up. Water Hazard snaps out of his musing, but since he's not paying attention, with his hands down he accidentally releases a blast of water downward, causing water, sand, and a bit of trash so shoot back up at his face. Ah, sand in my eyes. Izuku furiously rubs his eyes until he remembers that he's a living water gun before firing water at his face. The blast is a bit too strong and it actually knocks him backward. 13 watches blankly, shaking their head as Water Hazard splashes himself in the face. Sighing, the hero pinches the center of their helmet where their nose would be. Alright, let's take a quick break. With a heavy sigh, Water Hazard unceremoniously falls back onto his rear, accepting the order. He could keep going, but he's just not really feeling up to it. This predicament with Henzu is really weighing on him. The guilt just won't go away. After all, he lied to his face. Henzu probably thinks that he's been lying to him since they met 4 years back. There's got to be some way to make it up to him, or at least to explain himself. Water Hazard falls back on the beach, grabbing his forehead. Maybe I should tell him the full truth. The watch, the plumbers, the aliens? No, bad idea. I promised 13 that I wouldn't tell a soul. Heck, I haven't even told my mom. Well, I mean, I did sorta mention my new quirk to her, but that's it, I swear. By that he means he told her about developing a quirk late in life. Water Hazard comedically flails about in the sand, unsure about how to go about this situation. 13 can't help but find the alien flailing in the sand a bit odd, sensing that something else is bothering their young protege. Hey, are you feeling up to this today? Water Hazard springs up, sitting up straight. Wah, of course, I am. 13 isn't convinced. No, you're not. It almost seems like the watch agrees with 13 because it coincidentally times out then and there. Rather than argue, Izuku blinks before slouching down in silent defeat, seeing no point in continuing to argue. 13 takes a knee, trying to be at eye level with the youth. You want to tell me what's bothering you? Izuku glances away, as if in deep thought, though he probably doesn't know what to say. Midoriya. Izuku doesn't turn to look. Understanding that Izuku's not going to participate in the conversation, positions themselves as to appear a bit more relaxed, but still holding their attention on the boy. I understand if you don't want to say anything to me, but it's not good for you to keep your feelings pent up. Izuku's head turns slightly. Whatever's bothering you, you need to confront it. Say what's on your mind. Do what you have to. Do what feels right. Okay? Izuku nods, accepting the advice. Okay. 13 nods. Good. 13 pushes themselves off the ground. Let's call it early today. Why don't you get ready for school in the meantime? Izuku doesn't respond, allowing the soft breeze of the ocean to calm him, but yet one can tell that he's uncomfortable, not because of the soft wet sand he's sitting on, but from something internal. Assuming that they won't get an answer, 13 turns to leave. 13 turns and is greeted by a pair of emerald eyes staring back at them. Thank you for everything. 13 smiles, and even if it's behind their helmet, Izuku can sense that they're smiling. You're welcome. Just keep at it. The entrance exam will be here before you know it. Izuku raises his left fist and gives his mentor a curt nod. Right. And with that, 13 turns to make their commute to UA. This boy has a lot of growing to do. Not just with his skills, but mentally and emotionally as well. I can only imagine what he'll become. 13 looks up at the awakening sky with a faraway look in their eyes as they reminisce about the past. There are still some stars lingering above, not yet having been outshone by the sun. He's just like you, senpai. As 13 heads off for work, Izuku takes a minute to think about his options. I need to confront whatever is bothering me. Maybe he should tell Henzu. After all, Henzu's been nothing but honest with him, even when telling him to give up his dream. He does it not out of spite or prejudice, but because he cares. And it's an insult that he's not as honest in return. He has to make this right. He will make this right. Today. After school, I'm going to tell him all about the watch. Sorry, 13, I know I shouldn't, but I have to. Izuku is back on his feet, watching the sunrise make a full appearance in the horizon. I'll make this right. I promise, Henzu. Izuku takes off for home so he can take a quick shower and get some food in his system. Maybe I shouldn't mention 13 and the plumbers. I mean, it's not lying if I don't say anything, right? Izuku is practically shaking with anticipation, watching the hands on the clock tease his freedom from the classroom. It's been a painstakingly slow day, so much so that Izuku's nerves and mumbling has disrupted the class several times throughout the day, usually resulting in him getting embarrassed, mocked, and/or laughed at by his classmates. Thankfully, the one advantage of the slowly paced day was that it gave the nervous wreck of a teen time to think of the best way to tell Henzu about the watch. Izuku was hugging his backpack ready to just spring out of his desk and make a run for it. If he's not on top of this, he'll miss his opportunity. He already knows that Henzu will try to be the first one out of his class, so he's got to be there immediately. Finally, after hours of anticipation, the bell rings and Izuku doesn't waste a second. He practically jumps out of his seat, nearly toppling his chair, and sprints the hell out of there. His classmates blink in confusion but don't pay it any mind, assuming the quirkless weirdo is just being his normal odd self. Bakugo glares at the door, having just watched Izuku book the hell out of there. He tisks, figuring it's not worth his time to chase the nerd down, but a small nagging part of him can't help but feel the urge to find the useless prick and get some info from him. Don't think that he hasn't noticed the subtle changes in Deku. He's been more confident, not breaking down into a ball of nerves as often. He even looks to be in better health these days. There's got to be a reason for that, right? No way the nerd is doing some kind of training for UA. That thought alone nearly makes Bakugo laugh out loud. Besides, even if he trains his body, there's no way UA will accept a useless like him. Ha! Izuku arrives at Henzu's classroom, Class 3E, just after the students started to leave for the day. There amongst the crowd, Izuku can see his friend's black hair as he attempts to leave in the opposite direction. Not caring about the others in his way, Izuku pushes and budges his way through, throwing out a few apologies here and there. Henzu. Henzu? Damn it. It looks like he'll have to go there. Henshin. Henzu instantly spins around, looking very annoyed. I told you not to call me that. The scope of what he did hits him. Izuku can't help but chuckle. Calling him Henshin never fails to get a reaction. Henzu, I have some explaining to do. Henzu rubs his neck, trying to act annoyed while not making eye contact. Yeah, let's talk somewhere else though. Henzu's eyes dart to his classmates who are sidestepping around them. Too many ears here. Henzu turns and leads Izuku away to a staircase that leads up to the roof. Once there, the two teens stand opposite of each other with a fair distance between them. They remain like that for several minutes, while Izuku is literally twiddling his thumbs, unsure on how to start. I guess I should start with that, I'm sorry. Henzu doesn't respond, and Izuku can't gauge his reaction thanks to his black hair covering his eyes. Unsure how to continue, and his nerves starting to rise up within him, Izuku figures that he's got to power through this. I'm sorry I kept this from you. I'm sorry that lied to you. He takes a breath, making sure he says all the right things. And I know that I hurt you by hiding the truth. I should have told you right away. Yeah, you should have. The response throws Izuku off, but he shakily continues. All right. And well, I want to make amends and do what I should have done from the start. He's going to go through with this. Izuku fearfully raises his left hand, displaying the alien watch. You see this watch? Hard not to. Henzu glares at the watch as if it personally offended him. Let me guess you lied about where you got it. Why, yeah. Sorry. But, it's the reason. Izuku stops. His breathing is shaky, and his body is trembling in worry. Henzu is clearly losing patience. The reason? Izuku takes a deep breath. Now is the time for the truth. The reason why I have a quirk. Henzu blinks in confusion. Truth is, I have always been quirkless. PHFT, no you're not. Henzu laughs, but it quickly dies down to that of a growl. Damn it, Izuku. I thought you were done with the lies. I am. Just let me finish. All right? Henzu tisks. Fine. About a month ago, after school, I went to Dagaba Beach where I found this sphere, this pod, and inside was this watch. He taps the watch, making sure Henzu is following along. When I reached in to grab it, it latched itself onto me. He rotates the watch to show that there's no clear way to remove it. And I can't seem to find a way to take it off. Not that I want to, Izuku thinks briefly. Anyway, this watch. After I found it, I discovered what it can do. While fiddling with it, I activated it, and it gave me a quirk. Izuku makes air quotes when he says quirk. Or quirks, if you will. Izuku pauses to allow the teen a moment to process the information. Wait, are you saying that that watch is the reason why you can transform? Henzu asks in disbelief. Yeah, I know, just bear with me. Henzu's eyes narrow, but he nods, giving Izuku permission to continue. Izuku has to choose his next words carefully. After a moment to think, he figures that he's blown his friend's mind enough and he won't mention anything space or alien related. Anyway, I have no idea where it came from or who made it. All I know is what it can do. He silently begs Henzu for forgiveness, since he once again is omitting some info. And that is? It can transform me into 9 different forms, such as the ones you saw last weekend. Henzu's mind is going at 100 miles per hour as all these new revelations circle through his head. A few memories stand out in his mind. Wait, a month ago? Was that the same day? As the sludge villain attack? Yeah. By chance, that hero with the black skin and tentacles, was you? Henzu makes hand gestures as to mimic having tendrils on his head and rear. Izuku, although still nervous, stands a bit straighter, feeling somewhat proud. Yep, and just for the record, that form is called feedback. He smiles, proud of the name. That's a stupid name. Izuku falls over, feeling dejected. Henzu eyes the watch, but now that he understands the full implications of the item, he needs to see it in action. Show me. Huh? Show me what you can do. Oh, not here. Feeling a little more confident now, Izuku takes Henzu to his favorite and only training site, Dagaba Beach. Once there, Izuku doesn't waste a second. He's too afraid that if he does, he'll break into a wobbling, nervous wreck, and he transforms into an alien. After a few moments of Izuku demonstrating his form, both Henzu and him are laughing their asses off. 4 arms, hee. 4 arms swings a large heavy pipe right into a microwave like a golfer, sending it flying high into the sky before it curves and crashes down into the ocean. Henzu is clapping his hands together, laughing with joy as he nearly falls from his seat atop of a refrigerator. Oh, man. Izuku cannot describe how happy he is with how Henzu is taking this. Feeling so overjoyed, he swings the pipe right into a junk pile, blasting the garbage away like a burst of confetti. Whoa ho, now that is cool. I know, right? 4 arms drops the pipe. Check this out. He falls to the ground, catching himself. With a grin, the alien starts doing push-ups. After every push, he removes one appendage until he's using one hand. Look, one hand. Henzu is in such a good mood that he doesn't bother calling Izuku out on the lame joke. Instead, he laughs along. For the next 10 minutes or so, the two friends take time to make up for lost time. At one point, Henzu absorbs some nearby iron, and he lets 4 arms to chuck pieces of scrap metal at him. Henzu in return punches the projectiles, breaking them into smaller pieces. Later, Henzu, still encased in iron, allows 4 arms to use him like a bat to smash at various appliances, washing machines, fridges, and even a few cars. The two teens are laughing like idiots the entire time as they enjoy their stupidly violent fun. Eventually, though, Izuku returns to normal, and while he finds a comfy spot in the sand, Henzu goes off and comes back with sodas from a nearby convenience store. The rugged teen returns after a few short minutes. Henzu lazily falls back onto the sand next to Izuku, handing his friend a soda can. I gotta admit, but that watch was a pretty great find. Izuku takes the soda. Thanks, and I couldn't agree more. The two take a moment to enjoy their fizzy soft drinks as they watch the beautiful horizon. Izuku hasn't been this happy in a while now. Finally, he can share this amazing secret with someone, and not just anyone, but with his best friend. Maybe he can talk 13 about letting Henzu in on the plumbers and alien stuff, too. That'd be fantastic. Just imagine them teaming up to fight aliens, robots, and mad scientists. Oh, wait, they already did that. Henzu is also having some fond thoughts. Just imagine what they can do with this. Wait, why think about it? He grins mischievously, finishing his soda. Hey, Izuku. Izuku takes a gulp of his drink. Yeah? Have you registered the watch your quirk yet? Izuku can't help but feel a little embarrassed that he forgot to do that exact thing. Oh, no, not yet. He was going to wait until he had a good handle on each of his abilities. Is that so? Henzu's smile turns wicked as he crushes his empty soda can. Let's take advantage of that and have some fun. Wah what? Izuku's eyes practically pop out of their sockets. Oh, come on. Henzu stands up, tossing the can to the side. Let's go make some true fun. Let's go have some fun. I mean, it's not like you'll get caught. What are you saying? Let's ditch this literal dump and continue our reunion. It'll be great. It'll be you, me, and possibly the cops. He throws in the last part as an afterthought. What? Not acknowledging the greenette, Henzu continues. Come on, Izuku, you already bailed on me once before. For a moment, Henzu's eyes glaze over with spite. He gestures at his wrist. Izuku understands that he's indicating to the watch. Izuku's shoulders slump as guilt once again overcomes him. Just go along with this. Just think of it as you making it up to me. Izuku is thrown for a loop. On one hand, he still feels guilty, and thus he has to do more to make up for his mistake. On the other, this can turn out really badly for him in the end. But he owes him. He's done so much for him. He has an obligation to make amends. Henzu's smirk widens. So, what do you say? I guess it wouldn't hurt. Henzu ecstatically claps his hands together in victory. My man. That doesn't make Izuku feel better in any way. Something tells me that I'm going to regret this. Henzu, why are we here? The two teens currently find themselves within the confines of a local grocery store hidden by the freezer section. There's nothing too spectacular about the store. It's perfectly normal with no signs of trouble. The only things out of place are them amongst the small crowd of shoppers bustling across the various aisles. Henzu is leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Relax, man, don't worry about it. He pushes himself off the wall and slings an arm over Izuku's shoulders. Just do as I tell ya, and it will all work out. Somehow, that only makes Izuku feel worse. The blood is gone from his face, and tears threaten to leak out. Something's not right here. Izuku's been dragged into Henzu's schemes before, and none of them ended well. Sure, nothing too terrible took place, but it was always murder on his spirit. Henzu releases the nerve-wracked Izuku, clapping his hands together. All right, first order of business. Go ahead and transform. Sighing in submission, Izuku activates the watch and transforms. Luckily, their location is secluded enough that no one notices the flash of green light. The morphed Izuku lightly knocks his red shell. I call this guy Water Hazard. Henzu's smile widens. Cool, so I assume he works with water. Water Hazard nods. You guessed it. In this form, I can fire out high pressurized water from my palms. Henzu's eyes flash with opportunity. Really? All right, go ahead and spray the floor. He gestures towards the freezer aisle. Water Hazard tilts to the side. Why the hell would he do that? Spray the floor. Yeah, give it a good wash. Henzu slaps Water Hazard's back, shoving him forward. Izuku takes note of how the slap didn't hurt him, thanks to his exoskeleton. Anyway, Water Hazard shrugs. Okay, not sure what the purpose is, but okay. He walks forward, before squatting down and placing both hands onto the floor. Water Hazard looks back up at Henzu, silently asking if this is okay, to which Henzu silently replies with a confident yes. Taking a deep breath, Water Hazard releases a stream of water against the floor. The pressure is low enough not to make too much noise, but high enough that a large puddle of water starts to flow through the aisle. When a good layer of water has spread across the tile, Izuku cuts off the flow of water. Now what? Henzu laughs to himself. Now we wait. Wait? Wait for what exactly? Izuku would soon get his answer. A group of shoppers obliviously march through the soaked aisle, and the result is immediate. The shoppers begin to slip, fall, and crash into the hard, wet floor. Their carts are flung forward, causing them to crash into shelves and/or each other, spilling their contents of food products across the aisle. It's a huge mess, and the screams and yelps of the victimized shoppers just add to the total chaos, especially as employees of the store run over to check the situation, only to end up slipping across the tile themselves. All the while Henzu is laughing off. He's brought to tears and his gut is hurting from how hard he's laughing. Ha, this is great, hilarious, ha 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 ha, look at them all, ha 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 ha. Meanwhile, Water Hazard's reaction couldn't be more different to his companions. This is awful. Those poor people. I have to help TH. Just as he's about to move, a strong hand pushes down on his shoulder. Turning around, Water Hazard stares up at a smirking Henzu, who somehow was able to recover quickly from his laughing hysteria. Just relax, man. But Henzu? Seriously, dude, it's all right. It's not like we're committing a crime. But, come on, just let this one go. After all, despite his smile, Henzu's expression turns shady. You owe me, Izuku. Water Hazard freezes. He's right, he caused Henzu a lot of grief. So maybe just this once, he'll let it go. That, of course, is easier said than done. The poor victims of their prank finally manage to compose themselves and begin to recover. Seeing that the fun is over, Henzu takes off for the exit with a large grin on his face. Water Hazard shyly yet hastily chases after him, not wanting to be left behind. Henzu leads Water Hazard out and away from the store. Henzu's smile never fades as the duo enter the main downtown area of Mustafu. They pass by various people as they go about their day. That was hilarious. Water Hazard catches up to the delinquent. No, it wasn't. That was awful. I can't believe I caused that. Those poor people, I bet they hate me. They must be covered in bruises. Someone really could have gotten hurt, and we could have been caught. I really hope no one finds out about this. Not wanting to let Izuku's muttering storm to strengthen, Henzu cuts him off. Dude, chill out. No harm was done, trust me. Are you sure? Hell yeah. Oh, that's good. He's not convinced. The two weave in and out of waves of people. Don't let this get you down. We're just having some fun after all. Besides, technically, we're not doing anything illegal since you're technically not using a real quirk. I guess that makes sense. Still doesn't feel right though. It makes complete sense. Now let's head out. Henzu turns and starts to cross the street. Water Hazard stops to watch him. Head out? To where? Henzu makes it across and spins around, smiling. Anywhere that we can have some fun, he turns around and continues walking with a smirk. And stir up some trouble. And stir up trouble they did. As it turns out, the prank at the store was just the beginning. After Izuku transformed back into human, Henzu lead him to Tatooine Station. The place was packed with people commuting home, and while others waited for their trains, they enjoyed themselves at one of the many food stalls and vendors. For most it was a rather quiet afternoon, but that couldn't be said for others, since a gang of dittos were running around causing trouble by committing pranks on poor, unsuspecting commuters. Henzu assigned each ditto with a different prank ranging from tying shoelaces to elaborate schemes. For example, Henzu pressured a duo of dittos to drop banana peels across various areas. One ditto lazily tossed the peels around while the other ditto ate so many bananas that his stomach expanded. Another pair of dittos each stood at opposite ends of a hallway with a rope between them. They pulled the rope at the same time, tripping over a wave of oncoming people. The dittos ran off before anyone could spot them. One ditto found the whole thing very amusing, but the other clone was quick to reprimand him. Other dittos ran about tipping over trash cans, placed gum on top of water fountains. A group of clones poured paint atop a group of people, And one copy even made a stink bomb and threw it into the middle of a crowd. Admittedly, some of the Dittos started to enjoy themselves a little too much, prompting Izuku to take a mental note to ask 13 if Ditto's clones can have slightly altered personalities. All the while, the original Ditto cowered in shame next to Henzu, who was absolutely enjoying the show. Izuku was just happy that because of the huge crowds of people, no one was really able to notice the little aliens running around, hopefully. Afterwards, at a nearby road crowded with more commuters, a huge whirlwind swept through the street, stopping people in their tracks as they braced themselves. Unfortunately, many of their loose belongings such as cash, papers, hats, trash, and anything else that wasn't tied down were blown off their person. If any of them had looked up, they would have been surprised to see a flying turtle shell hovering above them. A terrified terraspin quickly disappears over the buildings, allowing everyone a reprieve. Many of them are disheveled as they try to gather their things and clean themselves up. At the same time, Henzu casually strolls up and snatches up anything of value he finds on the ground. Money, cards, he even found an expensive watch. Later, at a local beach, many beachgoers are screaming in fear as they flee towards their cars. A depressed and slightly insulted Ripjaws watches them from the water. Henzu had him swim around and bare his fangs at a few swimmers. Speaking of that devil, Henzu was busy scavenging through everything that was left behind by the beachgoers. After that last incident, Henzu really started to push the limits of how far he could push Izuku into doing what he wants. He took Izuku to a junkyard and had him fight off some thugs as 4 arms. He was nice enough to allow the morphed Izuku to disguise himself, albeit with a big blanket that he used as a cloak. The fight was less of a fight and more of 4 arms throwing the thugs around. One of them managed to hit him with a bat, but it split in half when it collided with the brute's tough red hide. The whole time 4 arms is profusely apologizing for his actions. Henzu, of course, was digging through the guy's hideout for merch and goods. They then went across town to a storage facility for a video game company. There, the black-haired delinquent got gray matter to hack the security system and allow them access. The whole time Izuku let his worries and fears herd, but Henzu expertly persuaded him to see this through, and he promised that he wouldn't take anything. He just wanted to check out the newest games coming in. The tiny alien somehow bought the act, mainly because his worries clouded his judgment, but he remained outside while Henzu browsed the large crates and boxes. As they left, Gray Matter hopped a ride on the taller teen's shoulder. From up on his perch, he could have sworn that he saw Henzu tuck something away into his pocket, something that said Sumo Slammers or something on it. Finally, the partners in crime made their way to an arcade. Their feedback used his tendrils to hotwire the rows and rows of arcade machines and games, causing them to spark to life and shoot out a torrent of coins, so much so that the aisles were flooded with the stuff. Henzu was nearly swimming in quarters as he used a trash can to scoop up the loot. Izuku is exhausted both physically and emotionally. This is all too much for him. Sure, he wants to patch things up with his best friend, but is this really the best way to go about it? This entire day is like nothing he's ever experienced. He's never felt so terrible or ashamed of himself until now. And with every task and scheme, the seemingly endless pit in his stomach worsens. And the current setting is not helping. The subway tunnel is cold and damp. The only light sources are the dim lamps creaking above their heads. Izuku's pretty sure that a rat ran across his foot at one point, and he doesn't want to even think about what that gooey substance he stepped in was. Henzu's voice pierces through Izuku's daze. All right, we're here. Izuku nearly trips as he comes to a halt. Shakily looking up, he finds himself in what appears to be an abandoned subway station with several tunnel entrances and a pair of train tracks running parallel to each other. The place clearly hasn't received too many visitors over the years. Yet the train tracks still look to be in good condition, so trains must still be running through here. Come on. Henzu rushes over towards a fusion box and trailing point where a track intersects between the parallel rails. Henzu places his hands on the fusion box, absorbing the electricity that sparks off his bare arms. When he has enough, he grabs the large trailing point lever, charging it up until the train order lights turn on and the lever shifts. At the same time, the tracks clank in place, diverging the tracks into a single point. Izuku looks between the tunnels, unsure about what's going on. "What are you doing?" Henzu smirks. "A cargo train that's supposed to be carrying a load of gold is supposed to be coming down this track." Izuku's stomach drops. And so, when it crashes into the oncoming subway train, boom, instant payday. You'll transform into that XLR-8 guy, grab the gold, and get us the hell out of here. "What?" Clear panic rings through Izuku's voice. "No, no way. I'm not going through with this." Henzu can't be serious. Taking quarters from an arcade is one thing, but a train heist is something else entirely. Wait. Did he say subway train? No. Henzu, the subway train, is it? The question dies in his mouth. It can't be true. It can't. "Don't you worry about that, just worry about your part." Izuku's breathing becomes heavy, and despite the cold of the tunnel, he's starting to break into a cold sweat. "Part?" Henzu, sensing Izuku's hesitation, decides to divert his attention. "After this, we'll be square." Izuku is so shaken he struggles to come up with a response, but his eyes turn towards the taller teen. "Look at it this way, when this is over, all will be forgiven between the two of us. He'll be set for life, and no one will ever find out about this." "But they'll know. He'll know. How can he live with himself after this?" Henzu has always been rough, but he'd never intentionally hurt anyone. That's a lie. He's obviously not against hurting others. He steals, he hurts, and he doesn't care about the consequences of his actions. Izuku's legs are shaking, his cold sweat has become worse, and the tunnel seems so dark and cold now. The shadows crawl up towards him, ready to devour him into despair and agony. He tries to speak, but a terrified choke squeaks out instead. He has to say something, do something. He can't let this happen. A single word manages to escape his lips. It's more or less a whisper, but nonetheless it is audible. "No." Henzu's smile disappears, and the spark of mischief in his eyes are gone and replaced by that of malice. He can't bear to look at Henzu's face. I can't do this. It's wrong, so wrong. People can get hurt, can be killed. And if I want to call myself a hero one day, then I have to stop this." He takes a shaky breath, lifting his head up to face this challenge with a smile just like All Might. "I have to be a hero." He gives a shaky smile as to show his determination, and hoping that Henzu will see reason. Henzu's fists ball up, his temper rising to dangerous levels. He's absolutely pissed off by this second backstabbing. How dare this wimp, this wannabe, stand up to him? Who in the hell does he think he is? He's no hero. The thug snarls. "Shut up." Izuku freezes in place, his pupils dilating out of dread. "Who do you think you are, huh? All Might?" Henzu grinds his teeth, trying to hold himself back. If he screws up, there's no way. He'll have another opportunity like this. "You listen to me, you bastard." He jabs a finger into Izuku's shoulder. "You owe me." Izuku's fists ball up. "No, I don't. I've done more than enough. You're just taking advantage of me, and I won't stand for that." He leers up at the taller teen. "I don't owe you any." "Yes, you do," Henzu roars out in fury. Izuku stumbles backward, not expecting that response. "You owe me, and I'm not just talking about these favors." Izuku's breath hitches in surprise. "You owe me for defending you from that living pile of trash, Blasty. You owe me for hanging out with you." Henzu's rage is so toxic that he's shaking even though his muscles are tense. "You owe me." Through his black strands of hair, he locks eyes with Izuku. "For making me trust you, and calling you a friend." Henzu grabs his head, throwing it back as if in defeat. "In this world, everything is give and take. No one really cares for others. Even those stupid heroes are in it for their own gain, whether it's for fame, money, or attention. The only thing you can trust is that people will use each other to get what they want. So, you can't trust anyone, yet you were able to make me trust you. Within his rage and despair, he begins to laugh hysterically as if this is all a cruel joke. He fell for it again. He can't believe it. He promised himself that he'd never be betrayed by someone that he trusted again. Ha 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 ha. Ha, it's hilarious. A quirkless, useless wimp with no hope for the future was able to gain my trust and make me open up to someone. His expression turns dark once again. But then you go behind my back and betray my trust, and that is unacceptable. It hurts, the insults hurt, but they don't compare to the pain and regret he has for his friend, his best friend. After all, it really was a challenge for them to even consider themselves as friends. Hash 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 flashback hash 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 hash. It was the end of the school day for the students of Aldera Junior High. A 10-year-old Izuku Midoriya was strolling down an empty hallway heading towards the principal's office to drop off some papers that his homeroom teacher asked him to deliver for her. Hey, broccoli head. Huh? Izuku turns his head to see a taller boy with long black hair jogging towards him with a friendly smile and wave to boot. The taller boy catches up to Izuku. Phew, I caught up to you. Huh. Izuku nervously yet curiously pipes up a question. See, can I help you with something? The taller boy's expression brightens. Yeah, he pats Izuku's shoulder. Give me your money. What? It's a shakedown. The delinquent lightly grabs Izuku's shoulder. Yeah, I'm short on cash, and I really need some right away. The delinquent places his other hand against the wall. Just think of it as giving to charity. He activates his quirk, absorbing the matter of the wall, and thus transforming his skin into the same thing. His grip tightens around the greenette's shoulder, and despite his friendly smile, the atmosphere around him is that of danger. So, do you think you can help a friend out? Izuku's legs nearly give out from under him. Some charity. And just like that, Izuku's wallet was drained completely dry, and the delinquent got away scot-free. Izuku is bent over on the floor, his wallet laying below him. A few tears leak from his eyes. My poor wallet, I hope this never happens again. He has a feeling that that promise won't hold true. Sighing, he grabs his wallet along with the papers and continues on towards the principal's office. Who was that guy? And his quirk, I wonder what it is. It looked like he absorbed the wall or something. Can he only absorb what he touches? And if so, what kind of substances can he absorb? I bet with a quirk like his, he can become a very versatile hero. An idea strikes him. I know, I'll ask him tomorrow, but maybe I'll just leave my allowance at home tomorrow. The following day, Izuku manages to locate the delinquent's classroom. He asks some of the older students about a guy with absorbing powers, and, luckily, they knew who he was talking about, but that doesn't explain why some of them looked scared when he asked about the boy. Izuku arrives at the classroom. He's in luck. The only soul present is actually the person he's been looking for. The person in question is sitting at his desk polishing what looks like to be a wrench. He spots Izuku at the door. What do you want? Oh, The delinquent springs from his chair and casually yet confidently sways towards the smaller student. What? Want me to shake you down again? Because I will. Izuku gives a nervous laugh. No, I had just wanted to ask you something. The delinquent frowns and his eyes furrow. Oh, yeah? What? Izuku begins to sweat and shake with nervousness. I'm Izuku Midoriya and, well, you see, Spit it out. Izuku yelps, shutting his eyes. When there's no strike, he opens his eyes and holds up his notebook. It's titled, Hero Analysis for the Future #10. I wanted to ask you about your quirk. Izuku gives him a cheery smile that would lighten up even the darkest cave. That was not what the black-haired boy was expecting. Wah. Yeah, I wanted to learn more about your quirk. So, can you absorb anything, or is it more of a specialist type quirk? Would you classify it was an emitter, transformation, or mutation? How? Shut up. Izuku's mouth clamps shut as his body goes stiff. The delinquent is angry. The last thing he needs is for some stupid punk to try and get one over on him. That's my business and my business alone. The only ones that can know that kind of stuff are those I trust. But guess what? That means nobody. So, do yourself a favor and buzz off. The boy slings his bag over his shoulder and pushes past Izuku, knocking into his shoulder. The hit shoves Izuku into the doorframe. Don't bother me again or you'll regret it. He marches off, leaving a shaken Izuku behind in his thoughts. What the heck was that? Did I offend him somehow? He takes a breath, calming himself back down. You know, he almost seemed sad. I wonder if something happened to him. Maybe I should apologize. He tucks his notebook closer to his chest and decides to head home for the day. He did say that those he trusts can know him, so maybe that's what I'll do. Yeah, I'll get to know him, and then he can tell me all about his quirk. With a eating grin on his face, Izuku takes off for home so he can come up with the best way to approach the prickly boy. What followed the next few days was a series of failed attempts to even approach the black-haired boy. Every day, whether during, before, or after school, Izuku was doing whatever he could to approach the delinquent. The greenette tried intercepting him at his classroom in the morning, but when the delinquent spotted him, he turned right around and left. Izuku stayed there at least until the bell rang. He later returned, but found out that the guy had actually ditched class all day. The next day, Izuku tried to locate his target within the cafeteria. The truant was sitting alone at his own table in the corner. Izuku was radiating with glee at the opportunity, but one mean look from the black-haired boy sent Izuku backing away. His sense of self-preservation was actually able to influence him for once. More and more attempts were made in similar fashions. Occasionally, they were a bit more creative. For example, Izuku straight out tried to ambush the delinquent by hiding in a tree near the school gate. The guy in question easily spotted Izuku and simply kicked the tree, causing the smaller boy to lose his grip and crash to the ground. Fortunately, it was a rather short fall thanks to the bushes. After a bit, the delinquent actually found the attempts somewhat entertaining, but in an annoying type of way. Finally, on the 13th attempt did Izuku's luck change. "What the hell did you just say to me, you bastard?" Bakugo's voice rings out from the schoolyard. Izuku rounds the corner so he can see what the commotion is all about. A 10-year-old Bakugo and a few of his cronies are standing off with the same delinquent Izuku's been after. The guy looks confident and really smug. He probably said something to piss Bakugo off, although that's not really that difficult to do. The guy smirks with spite. "I asked, if you farted, would an explosion come out of your ass?" Izuku can practically feel Bakugo's fuming anger from his position, and it nearly makes him pass out from shock. "You bastard, you're dead." The angry blonde charges, his palms bared and ready to strike a powerful blow. As if on instinct, Izuku's feet take off from the ground. No, don't. The delinquent's grip tightens around his wrench, ready to absorb the material. Bakugo's hand lunges forward. Now die. Just before an explosion can be let loose, a green blur jumps between the two punks. Bakugo's blast shrouds the figure in smoke and heat. The delinquent can't help but stare in confusion and shock at the kid with burnt green hair lying on the ground, writhing in pain. No way? Why would he do that? Is he stupid or something? Bakugo's scowl hardens when he recognizes the interloper. "Damn it, Deku, what the hell are you doing? You want to die or something?" Izuku gives the hot-tempered blonde a fearful grin. No Kaken, I just sort of moved on my own. Without thinking Shut up, Deku." Izuku screams in response. Bakugo swings his right arm back for another attack, but the delinquent quickly realizes what's about to happen. The angry boy gives his lesser a nasty glare. Just move it or die. Another explosion fires out from his palm. But this time, when the explosion was detonated, someone else had taken the brunt of the attack, except this time not a scratch or a burn mark could be found on the back-haired boy's literal iron hide. Bakugo is of course outraged, as if what he's witnessing is blasphemy. What the hell? That should have burned you to a crisp. No one can stand up to my quirk. The defiant thug smirks with spiteful intent. Oh, yeah. Then this must be extremely embarrassing for you? Huh, Blasty. Don't call me that. I'll call you whatever the hell I want. Got it, Blasty? The delinquent's smirk becomes larger. Of course, you could always try and make me stop. He bangs his iron fists together, and the sound of heavy metal clanging together echoes out. But you'll have to make me. Bakugo's only response is to snarl. Izuku stares up at the iron-hided boy with something akin to admiration. Just keep in mind, I'm sure a teacher or two heard your Falmouth, and, in all honesty, I could care less about getting into trouble. So tell me, the delinquent's smile becomes wicked. Which one of us has more to lose here? Bakugo's hands are furiously popping out mini-explosions. He so desperately wants to kill this smug-faced, but even he has to admit that this guy has a point. If this becomes a drawn-out fight, the teachers will have no choice but to write him up. And the last thing he needs is a stain on his perfect record. Whatever, Bakugo spins around, stomping away. If I ever see your stupid face again, I'm going to blast it into a million pieces, he shouts back as his cronies nervously trail behind him. The delinquent's skin turns back to normal as he chuckles to himself. I doubt that. With that out of the way, that only leaves one more nuisance to deal with. So, the guy looks down on the greenette who has yet to pick himself off the ground. Care to tell me why you jumped in like that? What do you have, some kind of death wish that involves a blaze of glory type thing, or what? Huh? Izuku flails his hands in denial. And no, nothing like that. I just thought that, well, you may have, needed some help. The guy raises an eyebrow in confusion. This guy is so weird to him. Who in their right mind would take an explosion head-on and defend someone he barely knows? He must be after something, maybe. You're an odd one, aren't you? Izuku responds with a sheepish laugh. Yeah, I guess you can say that. So, did you do that just so you can find out about my quirk? For your own interest? Izuku stops laughing, staring up at the taller boy with silent confusion and wariness. And no, I mean sure that would be a plus, but that's honestly not why I did it. So, no, I didn't do it for my own interest. That actually surprises the delinquent. Come on, there's got to be something you want from me. Izuku blinks. He tilts his head down, thinking over his response. Well, I guess there is one thing. The guy tenses up, ready to hear what this kid, this enigma, is after. How about your name? For a split second, the only noise is that of the wind rolling across the lawn as the black-haired boy deadpans. Ha ha ha. The sudden burst of laughter makes Izuku cower in surprise. Ha ha ha, really? The delinquent asks between laughs. You've been chasing me all week, and you don't even know my name. He wipes a tear from his eye. Man, what a surprise this turned out to be. This kid is really entertaining. Izuku's sweat drops. Yeah, well, it's not like you gave it to me. The guy chokes back his laughter. True. He stops to think, smiling softly to himself. Maybe this one time someone won't betray him. But there's only one real way to find out. All right, then let's start from the beginning. He reaches his hand down towards the smaller youth. The name's Henzu Uichi. Izuku smiles warmly. Nice to meet you, Uichi. I'm Izuku Midoriya. He grabs Henzu's hand. I think we'll be good friends. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Hash 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 end flashback. Hash 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 hash. Izuku cries out, shouting in desperation. He has to make this right. I am your friend, and as your friend I would never betray you. Did I lie to you? Yes, that was wrong of me, and I'm so sorry. Henzu roars back at him with fury that can outmatch Bakugo's. Shut up, you're not my friend. You're just a useless, quirkless Deku. Something inside Izuku snaps. Henzu, how could he? He knows. He knows what that name means. How could he? Izuku feels like part of his heart had shattered. Every memory of Henzu replays in his mind like a film, but rather than the usual bright colors and fondness those memories usually bring to him, this time they are seen with regret and melancholy. Even with that garbage on your wrist, you'll never be anything more. Now get out of my way, Deku. There it is again. He called him Deku. No, I'm not a Deku. I'm not. All of Izuku's regret and sorrow has festered to that of anger. No, I'm not a Deku. I'm Izuku. I'm a hero. Henzu rage subsides thanks to being surprised by Izuku's outburst. But before his rage can spring back, Izuku continues his tirade. I am a hero, damn it. I've fought killer robots. I saved people's lives. I even saved Kaken. The sheer anger and resolve in his eyes are enough to make Henzu take a step back. And if I want to continue to call myself a hero, then I can't let you do this, Henzu. Henzu is more than a little shocked. This can't be right. Izuku has never stood up to him before. He's too much of a coward. He's weak and quirkless. He's supposed to be his friend, someone he can trust, but here he is defying him. But if he's being honest with himself, maybe they were never truly friends. Hell, he had a feeling that it would never last anyway. Remember, in this world, it's every man for themselves, and sometimes you have to step over others to get what you want. Are you really going to get in my way? With a determined glare, Izuku activates the watch, disappearing in a flash of green light and having his human form replaced. More precisely, he's replaced by a tall alien with its head floating between arch-like horns on its shoulders. It's black with yellow markings along its crab-like claws, feet, and chest. Izuku has transformed into the alien he calls Lodestar, an alien he first transformed into during his off time a few weeks back. He had wanted to see what other aliens he had, and this one is currently his 9th. Lodestar looks back at Henzu, who is starting to come to his senses after staring at this odd form. He glares, standing tall, and with a purpose he gives his answer. Yes. Henzu grinds his teeth together in frustration. It's official now. They are no longer friends. Deku is no longer his friend. He slams his hand against the track lever, absorbing the steel into his body. Fine then, just remember, using his strength, added with the strength of steel skin, he snaps the lever in half before throwing the broken half away. You asked for this. He charges, readying his fists, trying to make the first strike. Lodestar aims his arm out, and an invisible force waves out from his hand. Suddenly, the steeled Henzu finds himself flying backwards away from the extraterrestrial. He falls backward and is pushed across the ground until Lodestar cuts off his power. It's not too late to stop this, Henzu. Henzu doesn't respond. Instead, he gets right back up and charges ahead at full speed. Lodestar pushes him back once again, but this time the pulse is so strong that Henzu is flung against the wall. That's when he realizes this transformation's true power. Smirking, he gets back on his feet, grabbing the wall and absorbing the stone instead. I get it now. That form messes around with magnetism, doesn't it? Lodestar doesn't like that he was able to figure it out so quickly, but he nods, seeing no point in hiding the truth at this point. Henzu chuckles. He's thrilled with his discovery. Now he knows he can win. You're going down, Deku, he charges, and this time Lodestar can't stop him. Even with this distance between them, not even Izuku can come up with a plan to win. What do I do? Lodestar is internally panicking. He hasn't had a lot of practice with this transformation. All he can do at most is repel and attract metal. Wait, that just may be enough. Acting fast, Lodestar sticks both hands forward, allowing a field of magnetism to grow and intensify. The tunnel rattles and even shakes. Dust falls and spurts out from the air as nails, screws, metal shards, loose piping, and metallic trash comes flying towards the tall being. Time it just right, and now, with expert timing, Lodestar is able to adjust the pull of the magnetism just before a swarm of metal can lodge themselves into him, making the items crowd around him like a large veil of metal. Seeing that Henzu is close now, Lodestar proceeds to step 2 of his plan, reversing the pull of the magnetic field. Acting fast, Lodestar holds himself tight, holding back the energy before releasing a powerful pulse that launches all the metal surrounding him backwards and right into his attacker's path. Seeing the wave of scrap and metal flying at him, Henzu stops and braces himself. The metallic items crash into him. Tin cans harmlessly bounce off. Some nails are able to embed themselves into his skin, but they don't go far. The most damage comes from the bigger pieces of scrap metal and pipes, which are able to knock him back. Henzu growls. Throwing garbage, that's your plan? He flexes his muscles, breaking off the nails, thus removing any hindrances. Is that really all you got? I thought you were able to fight off monsters and robots? Or was that all just dumb luck? Lodestar gives Henzu an offended look. It wasn't dumb luck. Oh, yeah? Yes, and I can prove it. Lodestar points towards the broken track lever. Henzu warily yet curiously glances over, and what he sees makes him gasp out loud. The lever and the tracks have been switched back to their original positions. But how? Lodestar must be able to tell what he's thinking just from his expression. The final magnetic pulse had enough strength behind it to push the lever to reset the track. Good luck trying to reset it. It's true, since Henzu broke the top half of the lever, the only part of the lever is what's encased in the ground, thus inaccessible to him. His plan has failed. There will be no payday today. Henzu roars out in anger as he charges forward. And this time Lodestar has no time to react. You bastard! His fist slams into Lodestar's gut, making the alien wheeze and bend over in pain. Henzu flings his knee up, striking his former friend in the gut again before raising his elbow and slams it down on his back. Lodestar hits the ground hard. Lodestar groans in pain as he rolls over, but before he can pick himself up, Henzu pushes him down with his foot. The heavy stone easily pins him down. Henzu glares down at the altered form of his former best friend, his eyes screaming at Izuku that his betrayal hurt him more than he could ever know. He's breathing heavily, but he refuses to let up his quirk. You cost me a fortune. You owe me for that. Lodestar is able to choke out an answer. I don't owe you. That actually makes the delinquent laugh a little. Ha, tough guy. Look at you, huh? He jabs a finger at the dial on Lodestar's chest. But that tough guy act is a facade. These transformations are nothing but costumes, masks, for you to hide yourself behind. Isn't that right, Deku? No, that's not true. This is me, right? The only reason you can do what you can do now, why you can call yourself a hero, is because of this thing. All because of dumb luck, and by chance you found it at a dump of all places. Ha, fitting since you're a piece of trash anyway. Now that's the real you. The real you is useless. The real you is quirkless. The real you isn't a hero, and this will prove it. Henzu gives Lodestar a malicious frown as his hand opens up and over the watch's faceplate. Lodestar's eyes widen with worry. Wait, what are you? Henzu cut off, not by a shout or scream, but by a whisper. You don't deserve this gift. Henzu grabs the dial, activating his quirk. As he tries to absorb the energy, to absorb the watch, and take it for himself, green energy sparks wildly out of control from the alien device. Lodestar screams out in pain. It hurts so bad. But why? Why does it hurt so much? It's as if his heart is being pried right out of him. Stop it, stop it. His cries of pain go unanswered as Henzu continues to tug at the device. Come on, give it up. He groans, trying his hardest to pry the device away. Since you made me lose out on being set for life, I'm going to take this as compensation. Henzu's starting to feel it. Whatever energy this watch is omitting is finally starting to be absorbed by his quirk, and that makes him smile. I bet I could get a real pretty penny for it. He grins crazily, feeling excited as the prospects of what this could mean for him are. Or maybe I'll just use it for myself and go on a crime spree. With access to so many powers and my quirk, no one would be able to stop me. Not even All Might. Even though he's in pain, and the green energy has only begun to become more erratic as it discharges from the device, Lodestar is able to speak. That's not going to happen, Henzu. He can't let it end like this. He can't let this villain take the watch for himself. Just imagine the harm he'll do with it. I refuse to let this watch fall into the wrong hands. It's my responsibility as a hero to keep it out of the wrong hands. And just like that, the sparking dies down and the device becomes silent. Henzu smirks. Ha! What was that you were? Bang! A blast of green energy bursts out from the watch, engulfing both combatants. The two boys are flung backwards, and both had returned to their original states. Henzu is now leaning against the opposite wall, and a normal Izuku is lying between the two parallel train tracks. The boys groan in pain. They are bruised, battered, and dirty. They struggle to pick themselves back up. That blast really took it out of them. Izuku is able to lift himself up before bowing over in pain, clenching his wrist and struggling to breathe. He felt like he was being choked to death suddenly. It must be a side effect from trying to extract the watch. Henzu, meanwhile, is able to get on his feet. He's breathing heavily, and something definitely feels broken. But that doesn't matter. What matters is finishing what he started. He barely takes a step before a cargo train speeds right past him, its whistle howling through the tunnel. Henzu blinks in confusion. He also notices that the subway train is running along the opposite track. An important detail sticks out to him. Izuku is trapped between the two trains. The black-haired teen smiles, finding this amusing. Of course, Deku's luck would put him in a situation like this. He places his hand against the wall, ready for his quirk to take effect. A moment passes, and there is no change. Wind whips at his face as the trains continue to zip by. Izuku, meanwhile, is stumbling about trying to pick himself back up, but failing. Henzu stares at his hand in confusion. He counts all 5 fingers. He's touching the wall. What could be the problem? He thinks for a moment, trying to come up with a possibility. Then it hits him like a truck. He is now quirkless. Nuo. Henzu slams his hand against the wall, trying to get his quirk to work, to see if it's still there. No, 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 no. He slams his hand against the cold stone wall. His hand stings and it's bleeding. There's even a red print of his hand on the wall's surface now. This can't be happening. It can't. Now I'm just like he spins around, locking eyes with Izuku through the gaps of the train. Izuku is breathing heavily and staring back at him. I'm just like Deku now. That thought alone almost wants to make him fall over and cry. But he won't. He has to get out of here. Now Deku is the strong one. Henzu turns around and sees an old sewer drain. Izuku is exhausted. He can't stand much more of this, and the watch has timed out for some reason. It's blinking red and making that annoying buzzing sound as it recharges. He can somewhat see Henzu through the gaps of the train, but it's hard with dust and wind whipping past him. But it doesn't matter. He will defend himself. He will fight for what he knows is right. Both of the trains disappear through their respective tunnels, leaving Izuku alone in the dark and cold silence. Izuku cautiously scans the tunnel before realizing that Henzu is gone. He ran off to save himself, and leaving an exhausted Izuku behind. Henzu has officially turned his back on him and left him behind, and with that, their friendship has officially ended. It hurts more than the cuts and bruises coating his body. Not even the tears that stream down his face provide any relief. Izuku drops to his knees. The tears pour out as he cries out in anguish and grief. I'm sorry, Henzu. I'm so sorry for ruining our friendship. The only response are the echoes of his own wails of heartbreak from losing the only friend he had. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Henzu's limping and holding his side. He knew something was broken. He hates this, especially how the tunnel reeks plus it's filthy. But that's a given. A few rats scurry about running away from the much larger being. I hate you, Deku. I hate you. Henzu grips the wall, trying to prevent himself from falling over. Next time I see you, Deku, you're so dead. His fingers scrape the wall in anger, but he doesn't expect the sound of shredding metal to accompany the action. Staring up at his hand, Henzu's eyes widen in shock and amazement. His hand has claws, large sharp claws with webbing, and coated in dry gray scales. Bringing his hand to his face, Henzu stares at it, trying to comprehend what has happened to him. The rest of him looks normal, but his hand is. Then he realizes the truth, this glorious truth, and it makes him laugh. He laughs hard with maddening joy. He didn't notice it before, but he feels the change. He can feel something where his quirk used to be. He throws his head back, letting this newfound power to invade his entire being. He can feel scales spread over parts of his body. A fin or two stretch out from his elbows, and the sharp, jagged teeth only help to make his smile that much more menacing. And why shouldn't he smile? Just imagine what kind of trouble he can get into with this newfound gift. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through What If Quirkless Deku Had Omnitrix. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to Guardian-Sigil for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on fanfiction.net for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to What If Deku 2.0 for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.